TV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Bigelow Tea, the green tea of choice for New York sports legend Joe Torre. By New York Community Banks. By Gallagher Steakhouse, home of sports heroes past and present in Broadway's Theater District at West 52nd Street since 1927. And by Victorinox Swiss Army, maker of the original Swiss Army knife. Commemorate the inaugural season at Citi Field with Mets Amazing Memorabilia, the official source for all your Mets game used and autographed collectibles. Call 718-559-3144 or log on to Mets.com/game-used to get your amazing memorabilia now. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule, what's left of it. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. If you're in the car, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66. There they are, the final 10 tonight. 3 in Florida, 3 in Washington, 3 back at home against Houston. And that's it till April 5th, 2010. You got that last day circled there, Keith? Very nice.
Thank you.
Mike Pelfrey making his way in after finishing his warm-ups out of the Mets bullpen in right center. Check out the starting lineup tonight. Give you a little extra time to get the lineup written down in your scorecard, because I know you're all keeping score at home.
Well, plus it's changed, Gary, hasn't it?
Matt Diaz moves into the 2-hole because Martin Prado got hit in the knee by a line drive during batting practice and had to be scratched. That puts Kelly Johnson on the lineup at second base. Chipper Jones already has a home run in this series, 42 in his career against the Mets. And here's your Mets starting lineup, brought to you by Geico. See, we're really changing things up.
We're finally learning. What game is it?
Luis Castillo, 7 hits in his last 9 at-bats. That's how hot he's been. He's now 5th in the National League in batting. David Wright is 9th, second straight start for Brian Schneider. Same for Anderson Hernandez. And the Mets will try and salvage the finale of this 3-game series from the Atlanta Braves, who've now beaten them 7 straight times. This is the final meeting of the year between the Mets and the Braves. The next generation getting ready. How will this generation do? First pitch coming right up.
What are we going to do defense?
Hey, Boots.
for Big Pelf. This would be a nice little mini goal to set. Would be 1, to get that record over 500, and 2, to get that ERA under 5. And he'll have a tough test with this team, the Atlanta Braves, who have won 7 in a row against the Mets. They've won 12 out of 17, and they have to win every night to get back in the wild card.
And we're going to finally get around to the Lexus Metropolitan defense.
Glad you're so patient.
And we're going to highlight Mr. Schneider tonight. 9 out of 28. Don't have me do the math, folks, because I can't do the division. You figure out the percentage on your own. That's pretty good, though, right? That's decent. That'll work.
Nate McLouth will lead things off for the Braves. McLouth 2 for 9 in this series. Acquired by Atlanta back in June, and has pretty much given them what they expected in center field. Some Gold Glove caliber defense, some speed, some power. 9 of his 18 home runs have come as a Brave since coming over from the Pirates. And Pelfrey's first fastball in for a strike. It'll be McLouth and Matt Diaz and Chipper Jones for the Braves in the first inning. Pelfrey's faced the Braves twice this year. He had a very good start against them here at Citi Field back in May. Allowed just 2 runs in 7 innings and no decision for him. And then he got beat up in July in Atlanta to the tune of 9 runs and 9 hits in 4 1/3 in an 11-0 loss. And so it's gone for Pelfrey this year, good and bad. There's Diaz, now the 2-hitter for only the 2nd time this year, with Prado scratched. 2-2 to McLeod.
Well, listen, we're not going to tell him anything that Mike doesn't already know. 1, that pitch right there, perfect. He's going to have to pitch inside and knock these players off the plate. And secondly, he's going to have to find some consistency, because that should be his strength, not his weakness. This stuff is too good.
Lined into the glove on the leaping David Wright for the first out of the game. Spectacular play by Wright, 1 out.
Well, had the leap here. You can see David left your screen. Very nice. That's a double right there.
Beautiful jeté.
Yes, you're right.
So 1 hard out, and now Matt Diaz, who's hitting at .317, 1 for 7 in this series. That one was a long home run to left center on Monday night. Just a little before 6 o'clock, the Braves were taking batting practice, and Martin Prado was out between first and second base, running the bases after taking his turn at bat. And I'm not sure who hit the ball, but a line drive struck him right in the knee and felled him. And the entire Brave team grouped around him, and he was able to walk off under his own power. But this has not been Prado's favorite stopping off point this year.
Yeah.
Remember, he had to leave a game last month in the first inning because of those excruciating headaches he was suffering.
Well, you want to be in there every night if you're a Bravo right now, because they're fighting tooth and nail. But they have an off day tomorrow, so with an injury like that, it would give them 2 days rest and ready for the weekend.
They've got the Nationals this weekend.
And Colorado just refuses to lose, and the clock is ticking.
That was quite a game the Rockies played with the Padres last night.
They almost coughed it up late.
11-10. 6-run lead going into that 9th. But, you know, Mr. Morales walked the bases loaded, gave up a hit. Then I think hit a batter, and then they had to bring on, what did they bring on anyways to close that game? But Clint Barnes had a two-run inside the park home run late.
Diaz hits one in the air down the right field line, and Frank Core has enough room. 2 out. Well, the good news for the Rockies, in addition to winning that game, they now have a 5-game lead. Their magic number is 7 for clinching the wild card. They get Aaron Cook back on Friday from the shoulder problems that he's been plagued with, and Houston Street pitched last night.
Yeah, he went 2 batters last night, got both of them out, and I had that wrong. Our man who did the same thing here, Juan Rincon, walked the bases loaded. Then Morales came in and saved the day.
So Street's going to go back to closing now for them, and that's huge.
Yes.
You know, as hot as the Braves have been, Gary, and this has been over almost a two-week period, if Colorado had just played .500 ball, the Braves are right in the hunt.
Yep. Here's Chipper with 2 out and nobody on. Hits it sharply right at Anderson Hernandez. Takes his time. Side retired. 1-2-3 for Pelfrey with help from a balletic David Wright. No score. face Tim Hudson tonight. If you didn't memorize it, we'll let you know.
Well, Hudson's been great since coming back. You see that ERA. They say he still has the stuff that he had early last season. 9-5 in 15 starts against the Mets. 147 and 77 career. That's 70 games over 500.
Hudson now 34 years old. Angel Pagan leads off and takes ball one.
And the Ford Bravo defense, 41st errorless game in a row for Mr. Escobar, who's always been a thorn in the Mets side. I think it'll be very interesting to see Hudson work, Ronnie, see how his velocity is coming off the surgery, out almost a year. Over a year.
Yeah, they said his split has been outstanding, just dropping off the table.
Right there, the third where Chipper Jones was playing in. And he throws out Pagan one away. Well, Tim Hudson is one of the best pitchers of his generation.
Yes, he is.
147 wins, only 78 losses. A little guy who has the heart of a lion.
Yeah, he does. He's never had a losing record in his career. He had a stretch when his first full season in the major leagues, he won 20 games with the Oakland A's, 20-6, and then went 18-9, 15, 16, 12, 14, 13, 16, 56 and 40 with the Braves career. That's pretty impressive.
Here's Luis Castillo, who's been red hot with the bat. Luis 7 hits in his last 9 at bats and up to .313 on the year, 5th in the National League.
And a .401 on base percentage. That's 9th in the National League. And that's what you want from your 1-2 hitters in a perfect world. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world.
Well, since 1999, despite missing a full season of action, Hudson's still up among the leaders in victories over the last 10 years.
The thing you like about Tim Hudson is that he's just a big heart. Great pitching arm, but a big heart, and he is a great closer. When he gets a lead, very rarely coughs it up.
David Wright waiting on deck. 1-2 to Castillo, and he takes it low and inside. Well, I think you mentioned it during the open, Ronnie. When Hudson has a lead of 3 runs or more in his career, he's 105 and 2.
105 and 2. And if this team scores just 4 runs or more, he's 125 and 24. Those are just unbelievable numbers.
3-2 to Castillo. Dave McClough is playing Little League depth against Castillo.
Wow.
They've moved that outfield in considerably since last night.
Yes, they have. You can see that.
Well, that's the correct place to play.
That's not exactly Little League, but that's Baby Ruth.
That would be inside the stadium at Williamsport, wouldn't it? A little tapper.
You know, and this is nothing against Louis. Louis sprays line drives, but when he doesn't get a good portion of the ball, he drops hits just over the infield. You have to play him like this. If you did the percentages, how many balls does he hit over his center fielder's head in the course of the season? 1?
Well, I think you have to dare him to.
Maybe 2.
Right. Again, the 3-2 from Hudson. Line to center, and McClough in the perfect spot to grab it. 2 out.
Well, there you go. Elementary, my dear Watson. But you can see McClough, how tight he is. Doesn't have to move.
Against a normal outfield alignment, that's either a great sliding catch or a base hit.
Yes, absolutely.
So 2 out and nobody on now. David Wright, who's 1 for 7 in this series.
3 for, I'm sorry, Gary, 3 for 18 on the homestand. It's been a struggle for David.
Has David always worn that armor on his elbow, Gary?
No. Certainly that's a lot thicker than anything he's worn in the past.
Never noticed that. It's an interesting call, Keith. Very good.
Never saw that before.
I wonder why all of a sudden. Do you think he's testing out something that he might use next year? Wants to get into game action, see how it feels?
I have no idea.
I mean, it's not like he's been hit in that area.
No. We don't know if he's taken one in batting practice as far as ground balls or anything like that, but interesting.
Maybe Kevin can do some sleuthing down there on the sidelines.
He's a good sleuther.
Base hit. Elbow pad works. Brand has a 2-out single.
Fastball down Broadway, belt high. David just going right up the middle, as he's been doing all year. Pitch meant to be away, and that's a mistake right there. And David, as a pitcher, Ron, you make a mistake like that, you see the IO TV pitch differential. You're glad to keep it in the ballpark, right?
Yes, you are. And always with Hudson, that ball on the outside corner of the righties is the tougher part of the plate.
Here's Carlos Beltran, 0 for 6 in this series. Right, with 26 steals on the year. Hudson has not given up a stolen base yet this year. He's always held runners on pretty well.
Beltran has really been the Mets hitter that's in the lineup tonight that's had his way with Tim Hudson.
4 career home runs against Hudson and a .356 average for Beltran.
The home plate umpire is one of those umpires that has a very strict strike zone, so it doesn't really call that ball off the corner. So Tim Hudson and Pelfrey are not going to get a lot of help in that regard.
Beltran pulls it foul. In the closest divisional race, the American League Central, the Tigers have scored 4 runs in the top of the first inning in Cleveland against Justin Masterson, the former Red Sox right-hander. Twins play later in Chicago. They trailed Detroit by 2.5 after both teams won last night. Another home run from Michael Kadire last night. He has just been tearing it up since Justin Morneau went down.
15 RBIs since Morneau went down, playing first base in his stead.
Well, that's what you need. Those are the key ingredients. When you have injuries, you've got to have guys pick you up. Ed Hearn for us in '86 when Carter went down. Ronnie?
Yes. That was the best. That was his MVP week, or whatever. It's 15 days. He was unbelievable. And his play, talked to Joe McElvain, the scout, said his play those 15 days was so good. That was the reason they were able to get the trade for David Cone.
Yep.
Was Ed Hearn's play that week. Kansas City thought Eddie could be a #1 catcher.
Kansas City was scouting us for whatever reason, and the scout put in a great report.
Ed Hearn and Rick Anderson, right?
That's right.
Bounce to the right side toward the hole, smothered nicely by Kelly Johnson, but the throw too late. Now Johnson, a late insertion into the lineup, made a gorgeous stop, but Beltran able to beat it out for an infield hit.
We've seen our share of these plays here in this homestand. Castillo, Prado, Infante, and now Johnson. Beautiful, but he just can't quite get. Beltran runs too well.
You know, it's funny, he didn't put a lot on that throw, and it might be because, see how he's bent over? A lot of times when you dive like that, especially with the protective cup, you knock the wind out of yourself. He's hurting right now.
You know where it hurts? It hurts in your jowls.
Yeah.
When you fall on your chest or something like that. For some reason.
So now 2 out of 2 on for Daniel Murphy, who's riding a 6-game hitting streak. 3 for 8 in this series, including a home run.
Well, I knew that pitch was coming because Murphy's been first ball, fastball hitting.
Very good, Chief.
This whole series, and I said I was going to say it, and I just wasn't thinking, and I didn't think fast enough as usual. But that is a veteran pitcher right there. And you're not going to sneak attack me.
Well, I think he's going to take the road here of throwing balls out of the strike zone to see if Murphy will chase. It's been so aggressive.
Oh, there you go. Off-speed pitch, and it's 0-2.
You know, there's a lot of young pitchers that would use their scouting report to learn that stuff. A guy like Hudson, who is intent on watching the game. There's the splitter grip. Would know through the first game what his game plan would, formulate it, and say, boy, if I get Murphy up with ducks on the pond, first pitch he's getting is going to be out of the strike zone.
To the right side, much easier play for Kelly Johnson, and the inning is over. 2 hits and 2 left. 1 inning complete with no score. Online selection of authentic team gear, including official caps, t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and more. Get your team gear straight from the source. ShopTheMets.com shop. It was a little surprising to see the Braves lineup today and see the name Brian McCann penciled in. McCann forced to leave yesterday's game after suffering a contusion of his left wrist on a foul ball.
Let's see, he catches this right. Did not touch the glove at all. Hit that bottom of the wrist. It's black and blue today. Ran up the arm. And he does not feel very strong with that left arm today. And we'll see if he's able to use that top hand in his hitting.
Remember, after he took that foul ball, he had to turn it back. He took one swing, winced badly, and then laid down a bunt that turned out to be instrumental in the Braves' victory.
Escobar followed with the base hit.
And that produced the only 2 runs the Braves would need to win 3-1 over Nelson Figueroa, who otherwise was spotless.
Let's him shake his hand here, Keith, after the swing, the left hand.
Yep, little wins. Yep.
Oh well.
1-2 to McCann, who has great numbers against Pelfrey. 11 for 23. That's 478, including a home run.
Oh, that's a good pitch. You know what they used to say is rest in October.
Got all winter to rest.
Well, especially his team is right on the periphery of falling out of the race.
Exactly.
I mean, they, within 3 or 4 days, he might be able to sit.
Yep. You've got to somehow find a way to get out there and play.
Yeah. He's instrumental defensively for them also, so that's a big key.
3-2 from Pelfrey, and he strikes him out with a fastball. So Pelfrey has his first strikeout of the night as he gets McCann.
No, just beat him to the spot. McCann sitting on that fastball, and that's when you know you got a good one. The hitter's sitting on it, takes the swing. You see that grip of those fingers together. That signifies usually a sinker, but we have not seen the sink from Mike. It's been really on the same kind of a plane his ball is moving across the plate. Not that hard to sink.
Now Garrett Anderson, 1 for 8 in this series. That one was a 2-run homer Monday night. Anderson hitting at .269, just 10 hits shy of 2,500 for his career. We talked last week about the Braves' task in the National League wildcard race, that the biggest problem they had was there were 3 teams in front of them. Well, now there's only 1 team in front of them. But now the bigger problem is they're starting to run out of time.
Yes, 11 games left, 5 back. Yeah, it's tough. The sun is setting.
0-2 to Anderson. Hit toward the hole, a base hit. So Anderson now just 9 shy of 2,500, has the first hit of the night for Atlanta.
Nice hitting by Garrett.
Yeah, good hitters hit good pitches, don't they, Keith?
Down and in. This is a good pitch. You probably wanted it belt high. Just got the barrel through. Very little take back. Well, that's why he's 9 shy of 2,500.
So 1 out and 1 on. Here's Yunel Escobar. Escobar has 27 hits against the Mets this season. That's more than anybody else. Pedro Feliz and Shane Victorino are tied for second. They each have 22 against the Mets. But Escobar has been a huge pain in the Mets side all year. He's hitting .415 against Mets pitching.
The game he did not have a good game was in Atlanta when the Mets pitchers popped him inside, and it rocked his world for the rest of the game.
Anderson not a base stealer. Now the tempo begins to slow for Pelfrey with a runner on base, and this is something he has got to work on between now and next year.
Yeah, there's it becomes methodical.
One and 1 to Escobar. Step off, the turn, another turn. Keith, if you're playing behind a guy like this, does it truly get you back on your heels?
Yeah, particularly on a very hot Sunday afternoon on a day game, absolutely. You could talk to any everyday player going back 100 years ago, and they love the guy that works fast.
Three and one now to Escobar. Ronnie, if you were,
did you just see Pope? I heard Schneider tried to throw the ball back. It was a close pitch. He turned his head. Schneider had to hold on to the ball.
It could have hit him in the back of the head.
That's the one thing I noticed about Pelfrey. When he doesn't get the close pitch, it seems to get him all discombobulated.
Here's a strike, 3-2. Ronnie, if you were counseling Pelfrey, what would you tell him to do in terms of his routine with men on base?
It's interesting because he has this little problem. They've decided to make him more methodical at 1, 2, 3, cha-cha-cha, 1, 2, 3, cha-cha-cha. What you really want to do, the best way to be in the stretch, is not be predictable.
Anderson runs, pitches outside and low ball 4, and there are 2 men on.
I think that Gary, in season, trying to change someone that's going through what Mike's going through is a very difficult thing for Dan. I know it is. And I think what you're trying to do is make it very simple in his mind what he's going to do with people on base. The problem is that everything in baseball is about timing. If you want running the bases, getting a good jump is timing the pitcher. If you're hitting, it becomes timing also. How do you time the pitches? And if it is 1, 2, 3, here it comes, 1, 2, 3, here it comes, it gets the hitter in a better timing sequence than it does the pitcher.
Here's Adam LaRoche with 2 men on.
This is not an easy lineup for Pelfrey. Number one, it's not an easy lineup for anybody. But there's a lot of left-handers in this lineup. Yeah. With McLeod, Chipper hitting left-handed, McCann, Anderson, LaRoche, Kelly Johnson. I mean, if I had a lot of good left-handed hitters, I'd stack them up against Pelfrey too.
LaRoche is 4 for 4 against Pelfrey.
So I guess my answer to your question, Gary, there's really no answer you can do in season. This is going to be something that I think with a combination of the Mets personnel, maybe with a Bob Rotella kind of person, a sports psychologist, they'll be able to work through this.
Down the left field line, slicing toward the corner, and that's a fair ball bouncing up against the wall. Anderson is in. Escobar stops at third. LaRoche with an RBI double, and the Braves lead 1-0. LaRoche now 5 for 5 against Pelfrey, and he has his 78th run batted into the year.
Well, got the sinker away, and that's what you do. That's a ball you could have pulled. But you know, with a guy like Pelfrey, a left-hand hitter, you're going to be geared to go over those shortstops head in that opposite field gap.
Sometimes doesn't the hitter go the other way just because they're late on the pitch? And that's what it looked like from LaRoche. Could swing, but just a little late.
Well, he's got a long swing. Yeah. He had that angle. He saw the angle on his bat.
Now Kelly Johnson, a late addition to the lineup, hitting just .220 this year. His playing time has virtually disappeared.
You know, very interesting that I can see David Wright playing in, but at this point in the game, why have Murph in? I mean, Murph, if you look at Murph at first base, he's in nowhere's land. I mean, either you come in on the grass or you play back. Not the in-between with a left-hand hitter. A base hit right here is 3-0.
So would you rather have hit in or back?
I'd rather play back early. Play back. Well, play back. I mean, back here. Shoot. Either that or play on the fringe right there. It's no. He's in between.
And I will tell you, Keith and Gary, as a former pitcher, I want my first baseman back. You know, I want to try to work out of this, get myself a pop-up or a strikeout, but I can work with 2-0. When it becomes 3-0 and another runner on, that's when the problems start to occur.
Well, you see that Pelfrey, every time runners get on base, things start to go downhill for him.
You know, his option could be, guys, he could not pitch from the stretch, pitch from the windup.
Line to left field. That'll get a run in. Tagging at third, Escobar. Pagan's throw will go to third. Sacrifice fly for Kelly Johnson makes it 2-0 Atlanta. Escobar almost forgot to tag up.
You're right.
He had to hustle back to the bag, but had plenty of time to do so.
Good hitting by Johnson right here. Little backdoor slider, but the backdoor slider, when you're a sinker ball pitcher, you're not going to fool anybody. Now, Escobar has no reason to come down the line. You know what? You go back to the bag on any ball in the air, because if it drops in, you can walk home.
So Kelly Johnson drives in his 27th run, and now Tim Hudson gets a turn at bat. Hudson recently hit his first major league home run.
But this is a young man that DH'd in college, hit when he did pitch. He can hit, handle the bat.
Slow ground ball. Right, trying to cut it off, but he bobbles it and can't make a play. And runners at safe at first and third. That one had trouble written all over it from the time it came off the bat.
It looked like, you know, David aggressively comes across, and a third baseman, yes. But it looks like right here he gets indecisive. Well, should I let it go or should I take it?
I think,
and it's been tough on him, but his glove is just kind of, with his bat, has kind of gone south.
That'll be an error on David Wright.
See, I just caught him in the heel of the glove. You know, one of the things that I'm not saying caused that, Tim Hudson's quite an athlete. He was digging down that first base line, so it wasn't like a normal pitcher where you could take your time and just lollygag it over there.
16th error of the year for Wright keeps the inning going for McLeod. First and third and 2 out. McLeod hit a sizzling line drive on which Wright made a pretty play in the first inning. LaRoche now at third and Hudson at first with 2 out.
See so many hitters with a pitcher in trouble, men on base, taking a first strike. I just don't understand it.
And a second.
You got a pitcher in trouble, you know, I know they all want him to go deep in the count today. The heck with that. You got 2 men on base, a ball in the cap here, it's, you know, it's 4-0. Get a piece of cheese, you just get to cover it.
Grounded just foul.
Boy, the Braves have just gotten off early and often all season long against the Mets. Just seem to take the lead early.
And as a consequence, the Braves have won 12 out of 17 from the Mets this year, including the last 7 in a row. Last time the Braves had a longer winning streak against the Mets, they won 11 straight back in '82 and '83. 1-2 to McLeod.
I love this shot they're going to show right here. Look at that. Pelfrey in the foreground, out of focus. That is a great shot.
1-2. Hit up the middle, base hit. That'll bring home another run. LaRoche trots in to score, and it's 3-0 Atlanta. So McLeod behind in the count, rifles one up the middle, drives in his 67th run of the year, and the Braves have a 3 spot in the second inning.
Gee, this is what sink that we're talking about as Dan Worthen comes out to speak to Michael. Earlier in the season, he had that downward tilt. Watch the sinker here, Keith, as it comes really just straight across and not down.
There's not much sink at all, just a little bit of a
run.
And it's lazy.
And what does that tell you, Ronnie?
He has the wrong tilt on his sinker. We talked about it a couple nights ago with Derek Lowe. Anyone who's a sinker ball pitcher, it means they're not getting on top of the baseball, they're getting on the side of the baseball. And what happens maybe for Mike in these circumstances with people on base, it happens for hitters that aren't good hitters. It's the ILTV pitch differential. It's more outside than you want, but it did not sink. Is that when you get in tense situations, you're not a good hitter, you squeeze the bat. When you get in tense situations, when you're struggling as Pelf has, you squeeze the baseball.
Slow ground ball from Diaz. Hernandez will go to first with it. That retires the side, but 3 runs score, the last one unearned, and the Braves build a 3-0 lead in the middle of the second. Moments bricks are on sale now. A new offering of bricks will be installed along the first and third base sides of the Jackie Robinson Rotunda for the 2010 season. Order your FanWalk brick today at Mets.com/FanWalk. All proceeds benefit charity through the Mets Foundation. Jeff Francoeur will lead off in the home second inning, looking for his first hit of the series against his old team.
Be interesting to see Hudson, who's a sinker ball pitcher. He loves to throw that sinker and slider and split finger. If he employs the same tactic that most of the Braves pitchers have used against Francoeur in that series, and that's that high fastball up out of the strike zone.
Jeff is hitless in his last 11 at bats, hitting a .275 for the year.
Little get me over slider, Keith. It doesn't have to be much.
And Mr. Carahia,
Chino,
bench coach for the Braves. Just thinking now because of the news
about that.
Right? Will he be the first in line?
Mr. Bobby Cox.
It's an interesting question. I wonder whether there'd be other candidates in that Braves dugout. How about Terry Pendleton?
Terry Pendleton. How about Glenn Hubbard, who's been there forever?
Do they have anybody down in the farm system that's been waiting and might get the call? AAA.
Brian Snitker, the third base coach, who was a manager in the minors for them for a long time. But they've got a whole year to figure that out. Francoeur strikes out for the first out of the inning.
You know that Obi would love that job. Ken Oberkfell, AAA manager for the Mets. There's going to be a line that we're going to want to manage, that's for sure.
Wonder what it's like to play for a lame duck manager. It's an unusual situation for the players and for the coaching staff.
Well, I think as a player, and if you've been around like a Chipper Jones or LaRoche, you want to send out your manager with a bang. I mean, he's iconic. I mean, he set a high bar, as Jerry Manuel described today, and I think you'd fight tooth and nail to hope that you could go out with a winner for him.
Brian Schneider all of a sudden has gotten a little hotter with the bat after a lost season for Brian, hitting .385 over the last 8 games. Down to third base for Chipper Jones, and Schneider retired 2 away.
Well, it's not quite like replacing Vin Scully, but if I was going to be the manager, I want to be the manager after the manager that replaces Bobby Cox.
You don't want to be Gene Bartow.
I do not. I do not.
Oh, God. You don't want to be Phil Bankston.
No.
Whereas Gene Bartow replaced the Wizard of Westwood, John Wooden, and Phil Bankston was the guy after Vince Lombardi in Green Bay.
There's Roger, and I got coaches get a little unsettled. That's Bobby's coaching staff. Now they said he'll be back. They'll all be back.
But what happens after 2010?
There's no such thing as anything etched in stone. Yeah. So,
well, the other thing about it is that they also announced that Bobby Cox will have a 5-year deal as a consultant, which means that he might get a chance to choose his own successor.
Wow.
Who knows?
Yeah, he's going to advise and consult in all the baseball operations for the Atlanta Braves. Why not?
Anderson Hernandez fouls it at the plate, and it's 0-2.
He's worn a lot of hats. I mean, he's been a general manager. He's been a manager.
Been a player.
Been a player. Coach. He coached. I think he was the first base coach, I want to say, on that 1978 team. Is that the year? Or 77 when Reggie hit 3 home runs in the World Series. And Bobby was the first base manager. First base coach, sorry, of that team.
Hernandez out to left where Anderson is stationed. Side retired. Easy inning for Tim Hudson after being handed a 3-0 lead. Off to the third we go. 3-0 Braves. Pelfrey's topped out at 96 and Hudson at 93, but it's Hudson who has the upper hand. 3-0 as we go to the third.
I just can't believe it. You know, a year removed from Tommy John surgery, and Hudson really was throwing about 90-91 most of the couple of past seasons, and up to 93 a year later.
It's amazing.
It's like they tighten up all the screws.
Chipper Jones grounded to short his first time. Up and in from Pelfrey.
Hello.
That'll get your attention.
Well, here's the motion. Very simple for Pelfrey. When you're a tall man, you want to simplify things because you don't want to have a lot of moving parts. One thing I would like him to do, see that back leg? See how it kind of just lifts in the air? I'd like to see that come off the mound more.
Chipper drives one to right. Francoeur retreating to make the grab. So Chipper, after being dusted, rips one, but it's caught by Francoeur.
The back foot is the key for me, is that Pelf, as big as he is, stand tall, and then this leg right here, I want that to come through and really push off, and it should be a violent motion. See how it just lags behind there, kind of comes free and easy? He should be, that back foot should jump off that mound and propel into the air. And that way he'd be using more of his legs, and he would retain his stuff longer.
Throw harder.
Pull just foul. Murphy made a play for it, but it went foul.
It just very good, Gare. It just seems to me, Ronnie, like Seaver, the way he threw, Kuzman, where they really drove off that mound. That makes you more of a power pitcher. Let's face it, Pelf's he's a power pitcher. He's a power pitcher. He's not a guy just to go straight up and have no push off.
Even though his ball sinks, he is a power sinker pitcher. And the thing it does, Keith, in a long season, 32, 35 starts, is that you retain your good stuff because the strongest, biggest muscles you have are from the waist down. In your legs and in your rear end, you can take a lot of the strain off your arm over the course of a long season, employing your legs.
Oh, that's why pitchers run.
That's right. You run for a couple of reasons. You run long distance for a couple of reasons, although they don't do as much now as we can lines of base hit to center field. I always used to think running was one of the great things about being a starting pitcher. Is there's two things you have to worry about: your start and your physical conditioning. If you can take the physical conditioning out of it, then you only have to worry about the team you're facing. And the second thing about running long distance, and I know, Gary, you run long distance, there's a special joy for a starting pitcher of starting something and completing something. And just that mindset is good to take on the mound with you.
Well, the starting and finishing now is the first inning through the seventh.
Yeah, well, that has changed.
Right, but it's still a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. You know, you're going to start.
It's just a little shorter.
Yeah, you're going to start something, and it's going to be painful at some point, and you got to fight through it. And then when you finish it, you are symbolically clapping yourself or smacking yourself on the back for a job well done.
I'll hurt your arm.
That's right. I can't lift my arm anymore, so it doesn't matter.
You could just see Pelf talking to himself, fighting himself.
Well, gave up the hit to McCann, gets in the stretch, immediately throws two balls to Garrett Anderson, who had a base hit his first time up. And he hits this rocket deep to right field. Francoeur back near the wall, and it's in play. McCann to third, Anderson on at first, and I'm not sure exactly where that ball hit.
For my naked eye, it looked like it hit on top of the Modell sign. Might have hit a fan and come back into play. Let's check it.
First base umpire Doug Eddings ruled it in play, but let's watch. Oh, no, it's not. The wall.
Yeah.
The wall. It's a good call.
Good call.
Bobby Cox is coming out to argue, but it certainly looked like it hit on the orange line and came back into play.
Yes, it did. Good call by first base umpire. Hit right into that padding.
Well, there's every chance we'll get a video review because, you know, it was close enough to take a look. And I'm sure that's what Bobby Cox is asking for from Dana DeMuth, who is the crew chief. And DeMuth's going to call the other umpires together and see whether anybody had a better look. And they may well decide to go review this one.
Can I ask you a question? Would that have been the first one that ended up in between the Subway and Modells that went in there? Because we've seen them down the line.
Yeah. But that's a good question. I don't think there's been any right there at the deepest part. But here's the freeze cam, and you can see it hits the orange pad, which is in play, and comes back in.
Very nice job with that Coors Light freeze cam. Perfect.
They're kidding. A terrible play out.
He's no Jeffrey Mayer.
Well, Brian Schneider may be able to catch the ball with his eyes closed, but that youngster couldn't. And the umpires say no video review necessary. Everybody saw it the same way, and they got the call right. So it's a mere single for Garrett Anderson, and the fan pointed to the spot where it hit. Good eyes by Doug Innings. We'll give him credit.
Yep.
Well, Escobar up here now with an RBI situation, and Mr. Garrett Anderson should have been on second with a double. He wasn't running down the line.
So Escobar bats with first and third and one out. Threw a walk his first time and slashes one foul. Let's watch Anderson to see his gait.
That's why we didn't get a double.
And his home run trot. That's not in his ballpark.
That's a serious Cadillac. That's an Eldorado.
No gold in that Eldorado. To Escobar, who walked and scored in the second inning. McCann and Anderson, the base runners. And a good pitch by Pelfrey, foul tip, 1-2.
Just staying in on
To tell you the truth, it's interesting that he has the better sink against the right-handed hitters than he does against the left. Look at the right turn that ball takes late.
where you got to pitch him.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of a long swing.
Well, you can at 1-2 throw a slider down and away, but not for a strike. He'll swing at it.
They want to go back in.
1-2. And he got it in, but he fouled it off. Adam LaRoche waiting on deck. Braves with 3 runs and 5 hits in 2 1/3 against Mike Pelfrey. I thought it was interesting that Jerry Manuel put Brian Schneider back in the starting lineup tonight. I would imagine specifically to work with Pelfrey.
I agree.
Fastball in. Struck him out. Well, there's some good pitching by Pelfrey, keeping that ball in on Escobar for his second strikeout. Now they're 2 away.
Well, he never swung on a strike. If they're going to swing at it, just keep throwing it in there. That's off the plate.
Great movement there. Again, maybe not the downward sink, but it had late movement. 2 fingers together with the seams and let it go. And that's what you've been saying, Keith. That's the one thing you want to see with Pelf. Let it go.
Those are the flashes that tell you there's the makings of an outstanding pitcher there. Here's LaRoche, who hit one the other way for a double to the left field corner his first time. And that one knocked down by Schneider, 1-0.
You know, I go as far to say, and this is, I would give up whatever measly career I had to have his stuff and do it again. That's how good I think he could be. 6'7", 95, sinker slider. I'd love to try it again with his stuff.
So you're saying he has a good stop by Schneider. You're saying he has at least 136 wins.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's got 28 already. 108 to go.
How old is Bell?
25. Breaking ball hit down to first, off the glove of Murphy and trickling into the outfield. McCann scores, Anderson to third. Murphy unable to come up with that one on the backhand, and it's 4-0 Atlanta.
Oh, that's the advantage of being a left-hander where you have that glove in the right hand. You don't have to do the backhand, which is much more difficult to play. And Murphy, he's been making that play, so just didn't make this one.
Did he have time to get in front of that ball?
He's not as fleet of foot going side to side, Gary. The lateral movement, that's all footwork.
have not yet scored that play. I would assume it's an error, but they have not yet put it up. And they just scored at a base hit. Good Lord. That's Bill Shannon, too. Bill. Bill's getting lenient in his old age.
I'm leaving it.
Very charitable. Philanthropic.
So LaRoche has his second RBI of the night. Now Kelly Johnson, who drove in a run with a sac fly in the second inning. Talking about Schneider catching Pelfrey tonight, did you have a guy early in your career who helped you behind the plate when you were young and trying to figure it out like Pelfrey is?
It's an interesting question, Gary. John Stearns helped a lot just with his attitude. The great thing about John Stearns is that he was so excited to catch a start that it just made you excited. Here's this veteran player who's done a lot of great things, and he couldn't wait to get behind the plate and catch you. So that in itself made you feel great about being in the big leagues. But obviously it was the kid, number 8, who just, you really just went with Gary Carter. You knew the National League, you knew all the hitters, you knew how all you had to do was execute. And that took a lot of onus off the young pitching staff.
Gary paid you guys the highest compliment. He said he was the best staff he ever handled or never caught, and he caught for some great staffs in Montreal.
Castillo throws out Johnson. The Braves add a run and lead 4-0. Hall of Fame. I got that one.
Yeah. And I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, most baseball people feel he should be in the Hall of Fame. Would you agree with that?
Totally agree.
Okay.
When he retired, I believe he was 6th all-time in strikeouts.
Yeah.
And 287 wins.
I was
2 World Series championships.
I was very happy that I got a chance to face him quite a bit when he got traded over from the American League.
He had a nice snapdragon, didn't he?
Best curveball of his generation, I think.
I'll make after this pitch. He had such, like all great guys, the guys that threw great curveballs, had such great spin and rotation on the breaking pitch. And I always read it good off of him, but I always pulled it foul because the son of a gun, in my mind's eye, it started outside corner, almost shoulder high,
and you're going to meet,
and it broke down and in. So
yeah,
that's some serious break.
2-0 to Pelfrey, and Hudson misses away.
And you see with Pelf up, really shading him over. Forget Anderson. I've said it before. He's parked over there. But the other 2 outfielders in shallow.
How about that? Hudson walks Pelfrey on 4 pitches. That's something you don't expect. Hudson, terrific control pitcher.
Yeah, you'll see that maybe once a year it'll happen, and it's happened here for Hudson.
So the Mets have the leadoff man on in the third, down 4-0. Here's Angel Pagan, who grounded out to third base his first time up.
Chief, you're talking about good curveballs. The next generation of pitchers, always, you watch the highlights, and they'd always talk about Dave Steve of Toronto, how nasty he is. And I had to face him in spring training for some reason. I don't know why. Toronto, yes. And his breaking pitch was the first that I'd ever faced that made a sound. The spinning of the curveball was like, and I go, oh, wait a minute.
His slider. His was a slider. A nasty slider.
I do not have to be here. I'll take 3 and let's sit down.
Faced him more than a few times in spring training when I wasn't quite ready, and it was no day in the park.
Phillies have gone up 2-0 on the Marlins. That game's in the fourth. Cole Hamels pitching.
Well, we said earlier, Hamels pitches another good game. He's turned it on at the right time.
Yes, he has.
Phillies and Marlins had a long day of baseball yesterday, and this doubleheader necessitated by the Monday Night Football game in Miami.
It's interesting that I couldn't get any read anywhere, papers or online, about the condition of the field.
Jeff Francoeur told me he was watching part of the game on TV and said, particularly in right field, it looked pretty chewed up.
Yeah. Well, they come from right field down to the dugout for the Mets, the third base dugout.
Right. The right field fence is the other end zone.
Well, we'll see it for ourselves on Friday.
Oh, that's right.
2-2 to Pagan. But they had a football game there Saturday because I think the Hurricanes
played.
And then the Dolphins Monday night, and then 2 baseball games yesterday.
Hurricanes played who? Georgia Tech, right?
That's an impressive win. They handled Georgia Tech. They had way too much speed for Georgia Tech. That's an eye-opener. They're a good team, Miami.
Actually, that was a Thursday night game, the Hurricanes game. 3-2 to Pagan. Fouled it off.
Well, we're going to watch when he starts his take back, beginning now. Now, not even a stride yet. See, his stride comes after the ball's already out of his hand, the pitcher's hand. And that's automatic. You have to do that. You stride too quick, you're in trouble.
Hit hard, base hit for Pagan. Pelfrey will turn second and head for third. Pelfrey turning it on. That ball was got by Chipper Jones. So Pelfrey forcing the throw with the base running, and Pagan has a base hit.
And we'll take a look at another time. Watch the take back. Hasn't started yet. There it goes. The leg. Now it's the ball. Let it go, guys. Release. He's still foot up. He hasn't planted his foot yet. There it's down. So that's all part of the process of filtering out, number one, seeing the ball out of the pitcher's hand, identifying the pitch, and being in the attack mode. And Pell showing some hustle here. Excellent. Lumbering along. He runs well for a big guy.
So first and third and nobody out. Here's Castillo, who lined to center his first time and takes ball 1.
That's the Mets' chance here. Hudson struggling with his control. Put together a couple of hits. Get back in this ball game.
And you can see the same type of defense, outfield wise, in shallow. Diaz a little deep in left. But Diaz probably is the least of the fielders out, the defensive fielders out there of the trio.
Well, if he beat Tim Hudson tonight, you've done something. 105-2 when he has a 3-run lead. Up 4 tonight. Slap to the right side and through. That'll bring home Pelfrey with the Mets' first run. Pagan easily will go to third. Luis Castillo with an RBI single, and it's 4-1 Atlanta.
Well, leadoff walk to that man.
Yeah. And this is a seeing eye dog right here.
right in between first and second, not hit hard. Too much plate. And that's why they always say situational hitting. That's a big hole there when the first baseman's holding the runner on.
Well, Bowie with 8 hits in his last 10 at-bats. Drives in his 38th run of the year. And now David Wright will be the tying run at the plate in the 4-1 game. Still nobody out of the inning. David rifled the base hit to right center his first time up. Good speed out there with Pagan and Castillo. Castillo runs. McCann makes the throw, and Castillo is safe. 19th stolen base of the year. And the Mets playing very aggressively here in the 3rd inning.
Well, strong throw by McCann. Just too good a jump. And Louis going in. Boy, he got caught in between, didn't he? Oh my God, he could have got hurt.
He's made some awkward slides this year.
Wow, that's getting caught in between right there.
The infield stays back. 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. 0-1 to right. Toward the middle of the diamond. Short hop by Johnson. The runners have to hold with that ball hanging up in the air, and that's the first out of the inning. Pagan and Castillo not sure if that ball is going to be caught out of the air, and so they have to freeze.
Well, Johnson had time also to look back. Pagan, he never gave him a look. Pagan might have been able to sneak one there, but I think he was surprised that Johnson didn't even pay any attention to him.
So now 1 out. Runners still at 2nd and 3rd. The infield stays back for Beltran, who had a base hit his first time up, an infield single. And he bounced the curveball foul. Kelly Johnson made a great diving stop on Beltran's ball in the first inning, but threw a shade too late. Pagan at 3rd, Castillo at 2nd with 1 out, and 1 home for the Mets here in the 3rd. .34-year-old Tim Hudson. Just his 5th start of the season coming back from Tommy John surgery. He was out for 13 months. Line the other way. Just foul. 0-2 to Carlos.
Oh, cut and slash there from Carlos. I always like to see when Carlos goes the other way. Did that with a lot of frequency earlier in the year before he got hurt. Not that far down the line, but used that left center field gap a lot. Pretty much straight away. Slight shade to the opposite field. In the outfield.
Hudson's ahead in the count 0-2 in a spot where he'd love to get a strikeout. He's fanned 1 tonight. And Beltran wastes 1 away.
Pretty good pitch right there. Carlos just staying in the at bat. I think maybe this is a good pitch. And
there you see the incredible record of Tim Hudson. 147 wins and only 78 losses.
I kind of think he's going to put one up and in on him off the plate, Ronnie, just to kind of push him back. It was too good a swing on that little splitter. It was a put away pitch.
Yeah, he's going to bounce one if he decides to go with the splitter again. You're right, Keith. He tried to come in, but he didn't go in.
Yeah, he's got 0-2. He had a pitch to waste. Still got one with his command. He won. I mean, that didn't serve its purpose if he missed away, right?
That means you can go back in there again if you wanted to.
Exactly.
On that fastball from Hudson.
That one served its purpose. He didn't get it all the way in, but Beltran's got to be cognizant that he is pitching him in twice in a row. And now it opens up the split finger in the dirt.
And if he misses and Beltran takes, it's 2-2. It's not like it's going to 3 innings. Right.
Beltran with 22 career hits against Hudson, including 4 home runs. Not too many hitters have those kinds of numbers against Tim Hudson.
Juice number 5 right here.
And breaking ball, McCann down in the dirt to stop it. 2-2.
Good eye by Carlos.
It doesn't matter any pitcher in the actually, if they have Carlos with runners on base and they have to go to strikeout, they all go to that curveball, don't they? Split finger.
And he bounces it. Another good stop on McCann. 3-2.
Now it gets dicey. Good at bat by Beltran. Boy, did you see that by Hudson? He first base open. He caught that ball from McCann. He took a nice little quick look who's on deck. Very interesting. Saying, well, if I do walk Beltran here, I'm going to have to try to get the double play with Murphy.
Go right back to the splitter. No,
just changed.
Fastball, strike 3 call.
Fastball in with movement.
Caught him on the inside corner for his second strikeout of the night. Good pitch.
And you know what's interesting about that pitch? He had thrown more cutters or straight fastballs in Beltran. That's the only time he threw that 2-seam sinker, or really just runner that started right at the hip of Beltran and bent over the plate.
Froze him. And, you know, Carlos with 2 strikes on him was up there going up the middle, was vulnerable in. Good pitching.
So now Murphy, and he rolls one out to Kelly Johnson. So an inning that began very promisingly for the Mets ends with only 1 run scoring. 4-1 Atlanta. Hottest New York sports stories, and now every Tuesday get an exclusive look at Gangrene with new weekly contributor Jet Safety Kerry Rhodes in the Wheelhouse weekdays at 5:30 only on SNY. Jeff Francoeur catches the foul fly by Tim Hudson. 1 pitch and 1 out for Mike Pelfrey in the top of the 4th. Well, there's a comparison between Mike Pelfrey of 2008 and Mike Pelfrey of 2009. Remember, he had a 3-month stretch in 2008 when he went 11-3 and was just about unbeatable.
Yeah. Well, you know, as far as the record's concerned, 10-11, that doesn't really concern me because the Mets are, what, 23 games under 500, so they're not a very good team. So winning 15 or 16 games with this ball club this season would have been a tough road to go. But there's been a regression as far as his command of his pitches, his command of his slider and changeup. Have those gotten better? Not enough for you to see. But earlier this season, I think you and I were watching, Gary. I think we had a two-man booth, Keith. And Pelf had one of those games where every pitch had a purpose. His slider was thrown early in the count for a strike. He was using his curveball against the left-handers, doing all those little things that you like to see. So he has it inside. He hasn't been able to repeat it, and I think a lot of that has to do with the windup and the stretch problem that he's having right now.
He hasn't had a hot streak all year. Yeah. I mean, last year in that stretch, Gary, he was going 9. He was the workhorse. And there was just the confidence out there, and he was throwing harder. And, you know, this year hasn't been a good, strong finish for him at all. He's regressed. But you know what? Next year he can come back.
I guess that's the question as he gets McLeod with the curveball. And that's his third strikeout, 2 out.
That's what you like to see. Mixing it up, okay? Taking a little off. Varying the speeds. That curveball, if it does nothing else, even if it isn't a strike, the hitter sees another pitch. It's something else that he has to worry about. This one just happened to be a dandy for the strikeout.
Well, there's the stretch from last year, the June, July, August stretch where he was the ace of the staff.
Can you see that graph?
Next to Santana.
There's that June to August play and he didn't pitch that badly in September.
But I guess the question is for the organization. Here you have a young pitcher. He's only 25. Yeah. He made great strides last year, and he's taken a clear step back this year. Can you assume as an organization that next year he's going to take a significant step forward?
I honestly think he's going to take a step forward. I think he has a lot of work that he has to do on the field and off. One thing about Mike that we know is an extremely hard worker. So physically we know that he's strong, in shape, ready to go, ready to take the ball. But obviously there's just, you know, this has been not a tumultuous year. That's the wrong word. It's just been a busy year. You know, this is a young man who's 25 years old that's got married to his college sweetheart or high school sweetheart and has had a baby, and there's a lot of things that happen. But the whole thing, as Diaz hits a base hit to right field, good pitch, bad result for Pelfrey on that ground ball. That's why it's professional baseball. It doesn't matter what happens off the field, whether it's great things like marriage or children or bad things like divorce or whatever. It doesn't matter. The result has to be there because that's just how it goes. That's what people expect.
Gary's 25, next year 26. You're going to bring him back. His potential's there. It's not like he's you know 20. If he's 28 still doing this, then you know you might consider.
Well, there's no question you're bringing it back. I guess for planning purposes, as you try and put together your ball club in the offseason, if you're the general manager, how do you look at Mike Pelfrey? Do you look at him as a number 2 or number 3 starter, or do you look at him as a guy who's still learning and is better off slotting at the back of a rotation, which would necessitate you going out and finding a second and third starter to right field, and that'll be caught by Frank Gore.
If they're slotted in the back of the rotation, Gary, my feeling is they're still going to get 32 starts. So I don't really care if you're 1 or number 5. You're going to get 32 starts.
Rays lead at 4-1, middle of the 4th.
Said, well, you know, he hasn't told me this. This is just my guess, is that I just get the feeling. Feel like he's back in a comfortable place. And Gene told me, look, you know, it's not anymore. We're not in the role of coaches. We're not picking out things he's doing with mechanics, anything like that. We're friends. He's like, I consider myself a father figure and a friend. I live down the street. If he comes home and gives me a call, I'll be happy to give him advice. So he's got a couple of friends back home that I would think will be on the other end of the receiving the phone call when the offseason occurs here, guys. Let's go back to you.
And I guess that's always helpful, that somebody who knew you when you had success can counsel you, as Frank Gore shoots one up the middle, and Jeff finally has his first hit in this series. A leadoff single for the Mets in the fourth.
Just out of the reach of Escobar. Frank Gore, first ball hitting again. Just. Nope, not even close. Hit too hard.
So the Mets get the leadoff man on for the second straight inning, and now Brian Schneider, who grounded out to third his first time up. Pulled toward the hole, and he's got a base hit. So Frank Gore and Schneider each going after the first pitch, and the Mets, who got off to a quick start in the third inning, have the first two men on in the fourth.
Well, the Mets are loving that hole right there.
Well, he's got the split finger grip. The problem, though, here for Hudson is that ball's up in the strike zone, and if you're a split finger pitcher, anything above the knees is very hittable. I speak from experience.
So Hudson, who worked himself in and out of trouble in the third inning, has to try and do the same again in the fourth. Anderson Hernandez flied out his first time up. Mets now with 6 hits against Hudson. And Hernandez first pitch swinging, 0-1. The Marlins have tied up the Phillies. A Cody Ross home run in the fifth inning gets them even 2-2. Marlins, like the Braves, need to win every day to have a chance. And even then, they may have no chance. Broken bat off the hand of Hudson, redirected to Johnson, who has no play, and the bases are loaded. Well, Hudson reacting with his bare hand. He appears to be all right.
This is a stone cold double play if he lets it go, but instead the reaction play, something you would never teach anyone to do.
That is tailor-made.
Well, good. The Mets got a break here. If he lets this go, that is right to Escobar on the base.
Right off the heel of his hand. So the Mets have the tying runs on base with nobody out, and Mike Pelfrey coming up. Pelfrey threw a walk and scored the only Met run in this game.
Boy, Diaz right down that line in right field. And shallow.
Pelfrey with 5 hits this year, 4 runs batted in. And he's first pitch swinging. That's 4 hitters in the inning. All 4 have attacked the first pitch. Frank Gore at third, Schneider at second, Hernandez at first. 3 hits in the inning to load him up. Hudson gets ahead 0-2.
See Pelf getting frustrated there by that call by Dana DeMuth on the strike. It's one thing you don't want to do if you're a pitcher as a hitter. You really just have to kind of take it from the ump, because you want the same pitch yourself when you go back out there.
Down to third. chipper at the bag. It's a foul ball. Foul ball.
Well, there's a case where the Braves would have gladly sacrificed a run for that tailor-made double play and getting the lead runner, not the lead runner, but the runner from second.
Well, it's interesting. Chipper had a couple looks. He was looking to go home for the tag play in front court and then was going to go to first base.
You notice also that Chipper with the pitcher, running Chipper, knowing the speed of the pitcher, even though Pelfrey runs well, had a time to double check at home.
There you go.
And then still complete the double play to first. And you can see the outfield defense. My goodness, Diaz right there. And right, way down the line. And
Pelfrey stays alive.
This will be a heartbreaker for the Mets for the go 2 innings in a row. They got only 1 run, second and third, and no out in the last inning. Here they got the bases loaded with none out. Got to get at least 2 across here.
And Pelfrey down swinging. That's the first out of the inning. Third strikeout for Hudson.
Well, you want your slider to be late breaking. You want it to be tight. And if you're ahead in the count, you want it to be just off the outside corner to the right-hand hitter. 3 for 3.
No tough guy to double up right here in Pagan. I think right now Hudson would be happy to get out of this with 1 run. The Mets would just love to get an extra base hit here.
Pagan is grounded out and single to right. 1 for 2. 1 for 9 in this series. Bases loaded, 1 out. And the off-speed pitch sits high.
That first pitch, Ronnie, when the bases are loaded as a pitcher and as a hitter, it's a very important pitch. It's always good to go have a pitcher miss with something. And in your 1-0 as a hitter, vice versa. Obviously, the pitcher would love to be 0-1.
1-1 to Pagan. Angel hitting .348 this year with runners in scoring position. The Mets as a team are hitting .283 with runners in scoring position. That is number 1 in the National League. And yet, they're 11th in the league in runs scored.
And you wouldn't think, and we've been here all year observing, that they would be number 1.
Well, they've had a lot of hits like the one Anderson Hernandez just had. A hit with a runner in scoring position that doesn't score a run. 1-1. Take it inside. 2-1.
We've got an unusually large number of runners thrown out at the plate on base hits.
David with that elbow pat. Interesting.
Hudson's been in a lot of trouble the last 2 innings. He's up to 65 pitches with 1 out of the 4th. And Pagan swings and misses at the splitter, and it's 1-2. 2-2.
Well, the one thing, if Pagan is the left fielder next year, I think that you'll see a lot of split fingers, breaking pitches. I don't know if you agree, Keith, but I think that Pagan will get a steady diet of break pitches until he proves he can hit those.
And off speed.
He's a good fastball hitter.
He can hit the hard stuff. That's for sure.
To the right side, Johnson can't make a clean play, and a run comes in. Francoeur scores, and now it's 4-2 Atlanta.
Well, can't say it's routine, but that's an easy hop. And it's a clank.
To me, Keith, I thought he was trying to do too much. He was anticipating wheeling and getting that force play at second instead of really, with the lead they have, taking that sure out at first base.
Yep. See how Bill Shannon's going to score that one.
It's going to be an error. An RBI for Pagan because you can't assume a double play. So Pagan has his 31st run batted in. The Mets have a run here in the 4th, and the bases remain loaded for Luis Castillo. Roger McDowell out to talk to Tim Hudson. Castillo drove in the first Met run with a single through the hole into right. He's also lined out to center field. 1 for 2 tonight. 8 hits in his last 11 at bats. Two to 1 strike to ball ratio for Hudson, but he's given up 7 hits, all singles. Now a slow runner at third in Schneider, and the outfield very shallow against Castillo, so that'd be tough to get a run home on a fly ball.
Well, it's the infielders, especially the second baseman and shortstop, are at double play depth, which is really difficult on Louis unless he hits the ball extremely hard on 1 or 2 hops. But one thing you can do as a middle infielder, if the ball is hit slowly, as is Castillo's want, if you have to charge it, you can come home for the forced play.
Castillo takes it inside, 1-1. Braves have the bullpen working. Chris Medlin is up.
Fry an egg on the bill of that cap.
Don't like that style.
No, do I? Never have.
That's the style.
Yes.
1-1. Double play ball right at Johnson. Slow flip. Escobar's turn in time for the double play. Well, Johnson almost flipped it too slowly, but Escobar made up for it. 4-6-3 double play ends the inning, and the Mets settle for only 1. We go to the 5th with the Braves up 4-2. And Brian McCann will lead off against Mike Pelfrey. Pelfrey already up to 78 pitches through the first 4 innings. McCann is 1 for 2, singled to center and scored a run in the 3rd. We'd like to pass along our heartiest congratulations to Mets reliever Brian Stokes and his wife Sariana, who are the proud parents of their first child, Brody Alexander Stokes, born this afternoon in St. Petersburg, Florida. 7 pounds, 13.8 ounces.
That's a good name, huh?
Brody Stokes.
I like that.
Look for him in the big leagues.
There you go.
22 years.
That could go a lot of different ways. Big leaguer, actor,
wide receiver.
There you go.
Brody Stokes. Sounds like Lance Allworth.
Or Lance Rensel.
There you go. Brian is expected back with the team Saturday in Florida, so congratulations to Brian and Sariana. It's been a big year for Mets and their youngins.
Yes, it has been.
I mentioned Pelfrey earlier. K-Rod had twins just recently. Oh, behind McCann.
How did it miss him? Well, that's one up around the neck to Chipper Jones, and now this one held on to a little too long and behind Brian.
You want to dance?
Didn't know which direction to go.
No intent there. He just wanted to make sure he got that in, and he did.
Curveball struck him out. Mike Pelfrey making more expanded use of his curveball, third time around the batting order.
That ball in and that backdoor curveball, I like it. Sometimes you have to make adjustments within a game. That slider has not been his friend tonight, so they've gone to the curveball, which has been much better.
Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Guys, I was talking with Ryan Schneider about the art of catching, and he told me as he was brought up, look, of course, you'd love to hit, and you'd love to hit especially more than I've been hitting, but my job is to take care of your pitcher, to get your starter to throw as many innings as possible, to call a good game, to block balls, to throw runners out, and to not be a liability, and to be a leader. That's a lot. And I asked Sandy Alomar Jr., the Mets catching instructor, if he agreed, and he said, yes, I do. He said, hitting for a catcher, I think, is a bonus. Your responsibility is managing the staff. And the reason why I was asking these questions is because today Jerry Manuel was asked whether Omir Santos could be an everyday guy next year, and he said yes. And I think that's one thing, that's one area in talking to people where he needs to work. And, Sandy went on to say, look, the one thing with Santos is, with Schneider, he's a veteran, he's been through the wars, he's caught 1,000 innings in a year. With Santos, it's hard to predict what he would be able to do on an everyday basis. Not saying he wouldn't be able to do it, but when you do that, when you catch on an everyday basis, when you're calling games every single day and have to worry about every single day, how will your body hold up? How will your game calling skills hold up? Will you be able to still do the things that you can do when you play once every 2 or once every 3 days? I asked him what Santos would need to work on. This is Sandy Jr. And he said, well, as far as his receiving skills, his left side is very good. His right side he needs to work on certain things like framing and movement and things like that. So it's a very interesting question the Mets are faced with into the offseason. Can Omir Santos be a #1 catcher, or do they go get a #1 catcher, or do they have a platoon situation? Now, the bottom line is that's something they're going to have to figure out between now and then. Guys, your thoughts?
Unquestionably, and Schneider is probably moving down the road after this year, but I think he has done himself proud in what he has done in terms of supporting his teammates, and I think Brian's got a future as a big league manager one of these days.
Yeah, he's a class act. As far as answering your question, though, Kevin, I don't see how you can judge a guy as #1 unless he's caught 110 or 120 games in the big leagues. I mean, you have to do that first before you can really judge if a guy is a #1. If he hasn't done that, then it just is guesswork. Well, he caught more than 120 every year.
He was a pretty good catcher. Well, I would be, I think that Omir Santos has been a tremendous positive surprise for the Mets this year. But he's not a kid. He's 28 years old, and he spent 9 years in the minor leagues before getting a chance this year. It would be a great leap of faith to think of him as being 110 to 120 start per year catcher.
Well, I look at it this way. He's very athletic behind there as the walk to Garrett Anderson. Reminds me a little bit of Carlos Ruiz for Philadelphia Phillies, who's the #1 catcher because of his defense. But he's allowed to be a #1 catcher because of his defense, because of what? First 7 hitters in that order. The first 7 hitters in that order are very difficult. So, you can allow an out in your lineup, and Omir has not been an out at all this season. But I don't think you expect him to hit 300. But you can allow just the defensive catcher, which I think is more important for this pitching staff, if you have the batters around in the lineup.
Ronnie, I have a question for you. When does, I'm sure it's always important, but when does the managing of the game, the knowing when your starter is weak or strong, when does all that become less important? In other words, as starting pitchers get more, into their years, when does that become less important? And how important do you think it is with this current staff if it comes back as it is?
Well, you have to have an established staff. I think if you look across the way at the Braves, they tend to have an established staff. They got Lowe, they got Vasquez, and they got Hudson. Now they have two young guys, Jurgens, and he's fully developed, Jurgens, by the way, and Hansen, who's moving along at his pace. This is his first full season. So those guys are real important to work with. But the other three guys kind of take care of themselves, kind of are their own pitching coaches. So the Mets coming off this season, other than Santana, I think all the other pitchers that you have that are starting need help as they go along and try to figure out what kind of pitcher they are. So defense to me is more important, Kevin, for the Mets than it might be for other established staffs.
So then when you're with a team that needs power and unquestionably needs power and some offense, how do you weigh that when you go in the offseason if you are looking at the free agent market, when you're looking at, you know, offensive catchers, which there aren't too many, versus his ability to do what you just said?
Yeah, the problem, Kevin, is that there's not a lot of catchers out there. There's just not a lot of talent at that position. So I would look at it, one is that if you had a platoon, I think that might work for you. But again, defense to me would be the most important, and you're just hoping that guys like Beltran who are going to have something to prove, like Reyes are going to come back something to prove, right, of course, that all those guys come back hungrier than they've ever been.
Beautiful stop by Schneider there. And I think also, you know, Met fans have been a little spoiled at the catching position. You've had Carter, you've had Hundley, you've had Piazza, you've had big power bats behind the plate. That's not the norm. The norm is your catcher's a defensive player. You got a hole in left field. If you're going to go for power, that's where you get your power.
Yes.
Or at first base, if you wanted to go in that direction. 3-2 to Escobar. Anderson runs, and Escobar tops one back to Pelfrey. Gets the second out as Anderson moves to second. I mean, I can't think of a franchise that has had more luck either developing or acquiring power hitting catchers than the Mets have.
Well, especially that stretch from '85 when Kidd came over to all the way through Piazza. It was just, you know, probably with Johnny Bench, the greatest hitting catchers ever.
I mean, there are free agents out there who would give you offense, guys like, you know, Benji Molina. But, you know, Benji's going to be, what, 35, 36 years old.
I just don't think you want to get over on the ultra-veteran side.
No, I agree.
You're looking for a core.
And Benji's body at some point might betray him. He's getting up in age, and then catching 135 games or 130 games, which you want, is I don't think it's going to be Benji's strength anymore. He can hit, though.
Here's Adam LaRoche, who's 2 for 2, a single and a double. He's driven in 2 runs. Curveball outside for ball 1. Anderson at second and 2 down. Braves batting in the 5th and leading 4-2. Never would have had that stretch of power hitting catchers John Gibbons had down there.
That's right.
Talking about catchers who became managers. John Gibbons from Great Falls, Montana.
Wonderful. I forgot that John was from Great Falls, Montana. Was that the 41st state a minute to the Union?
I believe it was. It's also where Pedro Martinez began his minor league career.
He did.
Great Falls in the Dodgers organization. Oh, right back to Pelfrey. And the side retired. LaRoche finally retired halfway through 4-2 Atlanta. would be the Dutchman, Bert Blyleven, 5th all-time with 3,701 strikeouts. Among future Hall of Famers not yet eligible with 3,000 or more strikeouts, Pedro Martinez,
Maddox,
Don Smoltz, Greg Maddox. Among borderline cases, the non-senator from Massachusetts, Kurt Schilling.
Oh my God. I've never even played with Kurt Schilling, and I know he would drive me crazy. Never even played with him, and I know he'd drive me crazy.
David Wright 1 for 2 tonight. He's still wearing that elbow pad that he has donned tonight. Well, the only 4 pitchers with more strikeouts than Bert Blyleven: Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, and Steve Carlton. Of course, Clemens also with 3,000 or more strikeouts, not yet eligible for the Hall of Fame. It'll be a very interesting case when his name comes up. 2-1 to Wright with Beltran and Murphy to follow. Well, Hudson has had 2 very difficult innings to work through the last 2 innings. The Mets in the 3rd and 4th sent a total of 12 batters to the plate, but scored only 2 runs. 2-1 to David, and it's outside, ball 3.
I don't know if our team director Billy Webb can get us a shot, but David has changed something. If you watch him right before the pitch comes, to try to not wrap that back teeth, watch him rest it on his shoulder.
And he brings it back up. Boy, he just looks like he can't touch the outside corner.
Well, by dropping that bat on his shoulder and bringing it back up, doesn't it take him longer to get to that outside corner?
No, he's doing it. He's doing it a lot quicker. It's not. I can't put my finger on it, Gary.
He's on with a walk, and so the Mets get the leadoff man on for the 3rd straight inning against Hudson.
Hudson's just making it a little difficult for himself, isn't he?
Yeah, this is not a sharp game for him. This looks like a 5-inning job for Tim. He doesn't have a lot of pitches, but still just has not found any rhythm.
The 2nd walk of the night. Now Beltran is 1 for 2. Big strikeout for Hudson in the 3rd inning when he got Beltran looking with 2 in scoring position. There's the pitch count on Hudson at 76.
He's got a good ball to strike ratio, 50 strikes to 26 balls, but just hasn't found a rhythm. Usually he is very methodical, punching strikes in there one after another. He usually dictates the at-bats. The Mets have been dictating the at-bats to him.
Beltran pulls one through that hole, which has been very kind to the Mets tonight. And so the tying runs are aboard with nobody out.
Oh, that hole is a beautiful thing.
At 3.5 hole.
Very good. Nice balance on Carlos with the full backswing. Piazza had that full backswing where he wrapped that bat and slam it against his shoulder blades on his follow through. And that's going to get the bullpen up.
Well, the Mets have 8 hits, all singles against Hudson.
Pretty interesting here, Keith, for Daniel Murphy to see if he would take this first pitch. As Murphy's thrown the ball, Hudson's thrown the ball out of the strike zone twice on the first pitch to Murphy.
Murphy's seen 4 pitches and 2 at-bats tonight, swung at every one of them.
I used to always peek back at the catcher if a pitcher had tried to pick off someone in this situation.
Oh, see where he was?
So I see where the catcher was set up. I just kind of look over the corner of my eye to see if he was set up away.
Glad I didn't know that.
That get you thrown at?
No.
Back to Hudson. Out at second. Out at first. 1-6-3 double play. So Murphy again, first pitch swinging, hit it hard, but right back to Hudson. 2nd straight inning, the Braves have turned a double play.
Garrett, as soon as the pitcher is in his stretch, and as soon as he throws, whether it's the first or second, that's when you just kind of look back at the catcher, because the catcher's going to follow the ball. He's not looking at you.
So he's not paying attention to whether
he's looking. I just want to see where he was set up. Very sneaky, Mr. Bond.
I guess it's, it's like the Giants were feeling they were stealing signs in 51 50 years later. Francoeur grounding one to the right side. 3-1 putout ends the inning, and another inning that began promisingly for the Mets ends in frustration. 5 in the books, and Hudson and the Braves have a 4-2 lead. League champion this year. Yankees, Tigers, Angels, Red Sox, or Twins. Text 57508 or visit SNY.TV to cast your ballot.
Are Yankee fans allowed to vote?
Sure.
They may overload it.
Billy Johnson fouls one back. Well, the Yankees played this afternoon. They won their game against the Angels, and a day after they clinched the playoff berth. So, you know, any Yankee fans who might be straying over to our game to watch with their game over, we invite them to cast their ballot.
Well, the big thing for them today is A.J. Burnett got the win, 11 punch-outs and 5 2/3 innings. So he's going to be really the key. You would think that you know what you got with CC Sabathia, although he has struggled.
Yes, he has.
In the postseason.
He's got on the big spotlight. He's going to have to prove that he can pitch in October.
Tim Hudson on deck, so it looks like Hudson's going to get another inning. Pelfrey over 100 pitches as he works in the 6th. And Johnson takes strike 3 call. Fastball on the inside corner. 5 strikeouts now for Pelfrey, is getting better as this game goes along. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Thank you very much. And Hudson lines a base hit into center. So Tim Hudson is aboard with a 1-out single. Hit number 8 against Pelfrey.
Well, I told you he used to DH at Auburn in his day, so he is a threat when he's at the plate. Just out of the reach of Anderson.
Nice swing.
So Hudson's aboard with 1 out, and now Nate McLeod, who's 1 for 3. Single to center to drive and a run at the 2nd. Each team now with 8 hits. And McLeod loops one. Castillo retreating to grab it, and Hudson goes back to first. 2 away.
Well, jams him. Louis gets a good beat on it. Luis.
I didn't give you guys the stats just because you don't ever see this. Hudson, when he was at Auburn, made the All-SEC team's an outfielder and a pitcher. He had 396 with 18 home runs and 95 RBIs, posting a 15-2 record there. That's pretty good.
That's pretty dominant.
That's a tough baseball. The SEC is tough, too.
Is he All-American?
Yes,
of course.
All-world.
Matt Diaz is 1 for 3, single to right his last time. And yet, despite all those exploits at Auburn, he was only a 6th-round draft pick because the scouts said he was too small.
Like Lincecum.
Toward the middle, tough hop for Hernandez, and it goes right by him and into center field. The ball hit the back of the mound, and that created the offbeat hop, and Hernandez couldn't flag it down. It'll be a base hit for Diaz, his 2nd of the night.
Let's see if he could have gotten in front of this ball. No, he could not have.
That ball,
got a peculiar hop.
You know what happened, Keith, is that ball was a straight hit up the middle, but it hit the side of the mound. And sometimes when it does that, it'll shoot back towards the fielder, and it handcuffed him, really.
So 2 out and 2 on. Now Chipper Jones has gone 0 for 3 tonight, just 1 for 9 in this series. The 1 was a 3-run homer on Monday night. Big spot here for Pelfrey. It's a 2-run game. And facing Chipper, who has 42 career homers against the Mets. And he works him inside ball 1.
And this is Pell's probably last man. He is the 3rd hitter. Next inning, the Mets down. They'll probably pinch hit.
There have been 17 hits in this game, 16 singles, and a double by Adam LaRoche. Strange.
Wow. Seems like Chipper's pulling off this whole series left-handed. Just pound that sinker away.
One to Chipper. Fastball away, 2-1. A game of great interest to the Atlanta Braves at Coors Field tonight. Will Venable is homered in the 2nd inning off Jason Marquis, and the Padres lead the Rockies 1-0. Rockies 5 games up on the Braves and Giants in the wild card race, 5.5 over Florida. 2-1. And this is away, 3-1. The Marlins are trailing their game. The Phillies are now up 6-3. Ryan Howard has just hit his 42nd home run to extend their lead.
He's closing in on the 130 RBIs, isn't he?
I'll tell you what, he's closing in on Pujols.
Yes.
For, MVP consideration. And there's ball 4, and Chipper's aboard to load the bases for McCann. 3rd walk given up by Pelfrey. I mean, Pujols had an unbeatable lead as far as the MVP is concerned in most people's minds as Dan Worthington goes to the mound and Ken Takahashi gets up in the bullpen. But Howard, it seems, every year, coming down the stretch of the season, just gets better and better.
He does. He's had some Septembers for a lifetime. I mean, he goes where in September he'll hit 10, 11, 12 home runs with 25, 30 RBIs.
Coming into the day, Pujols and Prince Fielder each had 129 RBIs. Howard had 126. Pujols obviously has the higher batting average, leads the league in home runs with 47. His team has run away with the Central Division.
But Howard has shown something. I think Pujols is going to run away with it. But Howard has shown one thing. He is a top 5 MVP candidate every single season.
And he's a whole lot better fielder than he was when he won the MVP.
Yes.
Did all the work with him defensively with Sammy Palazzo, who's third base coach for Phillies now.
And did a nice job as third base coach for the Mets all those years, too.
So here's McCann with the bases loaded and 2 out. McCann, who was questionable for tonight after suffering a bruised wrist last night, has struck out twice, but he also lined a single to center in the 3rd and scored a run.
Well, good pitch to hit.
Leaves that changeup or fastball away, and it's 1-1.
McCann's swing, and probably a lot of it has to do with the wrist. It's been very big. He usually has a little shorter stroke. The fastball beats him on the outside corner.
Any intention was that he said that he was going to go to the opposite field today. He's certainly not. He's not showing it in his first three at bats.
Looks like he's swinging for the downs, doesn't it?
Yes.
See that stat? That's surprising. Braves do not have a grand slam this year. McCann lifts one down the left field line. Pagan over near the stands, but he runs out of room, and it's 1-2. Now Pelfrey up to 115 pitches on the night as Garrett Anderson stands on deck. Pelfrey's season high is 118, so he's approaching that.
Braves have gone 212 games, 211 games since their last grand slam, and that happened to be Mr. McCann in 2008, July 25th.
Not surprisingly, it was in Philadelphia. And Pelfrey stepping off awkwardly and calls out Schneider for a discussion.
That's an old buddy. Like put his arm around. What do you say you and I go get our bikes and go for a ride?
Well, there's no other relationship, I think, in sports than a pitcher and a catcher. That battery mate is something that you'll always keep dear, keep close.
Well, Pelfrey hoping that he has one more pitch to make. Ahead on McCann, 1-2. And he pops it up. Oh, nicely done by Pelfrey. Pagan standing under it. And the side retired. So Pelfrey works out a 6th inning trouble to finish his stint on a high note. Mets will come up in the bottom of the 6th, down 4-2. Big out for Pelfrey to end his night. Those Kerry Collins and the Titans at the Meadowlands. You know, the Jets used to beat the Titans. Tune into SNY for Jets post-game live for wall-to-wall locker room coverage, player reactions, highlights, and exclusive interviews on Jets post-game live Sunday immediately after the Jets-Titans game and after every Jets game only on SNY. Tim Hudson back to the mound for the bottom of the 6th, working with a 4-2 lead. They'll have the lower third of the batting order coming up. Schneider, Hernandez, and then a pinch hitter for Mike Pelfrey. The Mets have 8 hits against Tim Hudson.
They've left 7 men on base through the first 5.
Well, the Mets had a run in, second and third, and nobody out in the third and didn't score. They had a run in, bases loaded, and 1 out in the fourth and didn't score. They got the first 2 men on in the fifth and didn't score. It's a lot of not scoring.
Yes.
0-1 to Schneider. The Padres have gone up 2-0 on the Rockies. That's still on the top of the second at Coors Field.
He's pitching for San Diego. Mr. Richard?
I think it's Stauffer tonight.
Oh, Stauffer.
Tim Stauffer against Jason Marquis. One and 2 to Schneider. Mets are off tomorrow. The team is flying down to Florida tonight. Give a day off in South Florida tomorrow.
Are you flying with the team here?
I'm not.
I am not either.
But you know, the guys are going to go down there, relax on the beach for a day.
Why not?
It's very dangerous on South Beach, Gary.
It's good R&R.
It's very dangerous.
It's very interesting when the sun comes up.
Well, this way they can have that relaxing day without a game that night.
Yes.
What is it, a news cafe down there? Is that what it was?
Yes.
Up the middle, and the Mets get the leadoff man on again. That's 4 straight innings now against Hudson. Schneider's second hit of the night. So the leadoff man on. Let's check in with Kevin inside Citi Field, brought to you by New York City Union Carpenters and Contractors. Kevin?
Oh, Gary, the folks here at Citi Field are continuing upgrading little things, but cool little things, nice little nuances, nice touches. For instance, outside of the ballpark, outside the Jackie Robinson Rotunda, between there and the subway entrance of the 7 train, they've put up now all these new banners with old Mets on it. So you've got banners of Kuzman and Matlack and Yogi Berra and a whole bunch of them on the lamppost leading into the ballpark. So it's kind of a nice little touch. As Anderson Hernandez, double play ball looking like it. On to second for 1. Johnson scooped out. Another double play that Tim Hudson induces. And there's 2 away. Check out, guys, what I was talking about. Here's some of the banners outside leading up to the Jackie Robinson Rotunda. So it's a nice little touch again, adding some more Mets stuff. And then inside the ballpark, right next to the out-of-town scoreboard up in left field, they've added a standings monitor now. So it's kind of a nice little thing. You can look at the scores, and then right next to it you see the standings, and that rotates. Gives you a few seconds to look, and then it rotates to each division. So just the continual upgrades of Citi Field. Guys, back to you.
I love the banners, and I love the fact they've added people like Al Jackson, and Tim Tuffle, and Ed Charles, and Dave Kingman's up there, and who else did we just see in that little clip? John Matlack.
Well, you know, it's great for me when Al Jackson's picture came up. I got so excited to see him in his heyday. Al, one of the great all-time guys of all time.
Well, one of the great early stars of the Mets. Diving stop by LaRoche, and does Hudson get there? He does. As Jeremy Reed is a pinch hitter, gets robbed by LaRoche to end the inning. Well, Hudson gets his 3rd double play in the last 3 innings, and a little icing on the cake for Mr. LaRoche with a Gold Glove caliber play to keep the Braves up 4-2 after 6. runs. Miguel Cabrera his 31st, and the Tigers are up 11-1 on Cleveland in the 7th. 2.5 games in front of the Twins to lead the White Sox 5-0. Brian Dunsing pitching that game for the Twins. You see the former Met Carlos Gomez with an RBI double there. And the Padres up 2-0 early on the Rockies, and Jason Marquis. Will Venable with a home run. The Rockies 5 games up on the Giants and Braves in the wild card as Ken Takahashi works the 7th for the Mets.
Well, Takahashi pitched in the first game of this series, a very fine inning, 2 strikeouts and an inning of work.
Well, he got off to a terrible start against the left-handers and has pitched well lately for quite some time now. The Cubs coming back against left-handers.
He's got that slider working out. He's mostly fastball changeup when he first came up.
That's why he owns right-handers. He had a good changeup against the righties. He doesn't throw it to the lefties. That's a pitch that he should try to use against the lefties occasionally.
Garrett Anderson pops one up. Castillo with the angle. Murphy says, "I'll take it." One away. Murphy wants to catch everything. Castillo talk it over.
Gotta get a saddle on him and break him.
Here's Yunel Escobar, who's 0 for 2 and a walk. Gabe Sanchez is homered for the Marlins in the bottom of the 7th. Phillies 6, Marlins 4 as they go to the 8th. Skipping away, 1-0 to Escobar as Elmer Descends gets up in the Mets bullpen. Takahashi and Descends, the elder statesman of the Mets bullpen. Takahashi 40 years old, Descends is 38. One and 1 to Escobar. And Descends particularly has pitched so well for the Mets coming down the stretch of this season.
He's ready every single day. Even if he doesn't get in the game, he seems like he's always throwing every night, getting ready.
Good changeup by Takahashi, 1 and 2. And the thing about Descends is he'll give you multiple innings day after day. A very well-traveled right-hander who began his career in the Mexican League, was plucked by the Pirates a long time ago, back in the early 90s. And he has survived. 1 and 2 now to Escobar. Adam LaRoche waits on deck. Braves got 3 runs in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, and they've made him stand up since, despite the Mets getting leadoff man on in each of the last 4 innings. And Hudson has made it work. Three and 2 to Escobar. And he walked him. So a 1-out walk. Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, consider the decisions that Braves general manager Frank Wren has had to make in the recent past. I mean, Chipper Jones signing him to a contract, John Smoltz letting him go, Tom Glavine, Bobby Cox, the news today on him getting an extension, and he'll retire after 2010 but stay on with the team as a consultant and things like that for 5 years. And I talked to him about it today. I said, how do you make these decisions that revolve around really iconic figures? I mean, guys that are associated with the Atlanta Braves. He said, well, I think it's the most important part of our job, to be honest. I said, Chipper, you know, we made the deal after he won a batting title. We thought he had a lot of baseball left. Bobby, we really wanted him to be respectful of how he wanted to move forward. And there was talk last year that he was taking it a year at a time, and this lets him be around the organization. And, you know, when you look at Smoltz, the biggest thing with him is, you know, we wanted to bring him back, but with 4/5 of our staff being hurt last year, I just had a hard time bringing somebody back with coming off an injury. So there's a lot that goes into those decisions that are made even harder when you're talking about the types of names that have been thrown around in Frank Wren's world the last year or so.
Well, I think one thing that all general managers, some have learned and some need to learn from the Boston Red Sox, is that it's great to have respect for people who have done great work for your organization, but you can't let sentimentality rule the day.
Yes, head, not your heart. make your decisions. Kevin, how about the decision with Glavine? He went through the whole process of rehabbing, and then they decided to go with Tommy Hanson.
Line down the line, past Murphy, a base hit off the sidewall. Racing for third is Escobar. Stopping at first is LaRoche, as Frank Corey airs it out to third base. But the Braves have first and third and one out. Third hit of the night for Adam LaRoche.
Well, LaRoche has been quiet of late, but tonight, it's a hanging, not that bad a pitch. Too much plate, and that enabled LaRoche to get the bat on the ball. Let go with one hand, and right by Murph. Hit too hard.
So the Braves poised to try to add to this 4-2 lead. It's a big Kelly Johnson at the plate.
Big run on third base for the Bravos late in the game.
Johnson drove in a run with a sacrifice fly in the second. 0 for 2 on the night. You know, you look at the results for the Braves. Yes, they let Smoltz go. Yes, they declined to bring Glavine to the big leagues. And look at the pitching staff they've got.
Yeah, good decision.
And I know there were a lot of hard feelings, particularly on Glavine's part, because he felt as though they strung him along.
Yeah.
They sent him to the minor leagues to rehab, and at the point that he was ready to come back, they said, sorry, we don't have the place for you.
Yeah, well, they made the right decision. Hanson's been one of their best pitchers. It's a tough league. You know, I mean, these things tend to happen, even if you have 300+ wins, even if you are a future Hall of Famer.
And the other thing is that they knew they had Hudson coming back, because remember, Hudson had not yet pitched at the point where they made that decision. But you look at their starting rotation now, and it's as good as anybody's in the league, top to bottom.
Well, you know, that young man, Mr. Hudson, has an option for $12 million. So they've got a pitching staff with two really young stalwarts that can be the center with, of course, Jurgens and Hanson. But then they've got Lowe, who's making a lot of money, $12 million option on Hudson. Vasquez has a nice contract. And you don't even include this guy, but he might be 6 into 5. Kawakami, who started for most of the year, he has a nice contract. So they're paying a lot of money for 4 out of the 6 possible starters.
Well, Vasquez has just been a revelation this year. Arguably the best year of his career. Hit hard off the foot of Takahashi, rolling into shallow left. A run comes in. That's a base hit for Kelly Johnson, and it's 5-2 Atlanta.
Was that off his glove?
I thought it was off his foot, Keith.
Okay, let's see, he hasn't shown any pain. Let's take a look.
Right off his shoe, I think.
Oh, off his inner sole there. The arch.
Off that right foot. So Kelly Johnson drives in his second run of the day. Jerry Manuel heads out to the mound. Omar Infante has been announced into the game as a pinch hitter. So Jerry's going to want the right-hander to face him. And he'll bring Elmer DeSenz into the game. So the Braves have a run home in the 7th and lead 5-2. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. Elmer Infante with 2 men on.
Elmer has pitched in this series also. Oh, sorry, his last time he pitched was against Washington on the 20th. 2 innings of work for Elmer.
Look at those numbers. 31 innings, 22 hits, 9 walks.
Yeah.
That's 1 base runner per inning, and that's
outstanding.
It's very good.
Another thing that Elmer has done this year that has not always happened coming out of the pen has been his ability to throw strikes. He doesn't walk hitters, makes them put it in play.
Infante 3 for 8 as a pinch hitter, and he takes a slider for a strike. The Sens has inherited 17 runners this year and stranded 13 of the 17.
He's been very, very good. No question. I think the Mets was a pleasant surprise for the Mets.
Hard thing about watching a guy like the Sens and judging him as far as next year is concerned is he's going to be 39 next year, and you wonder whether, you know, when a guy like that sees his production start to wane. But there's no question he's been outstanding.
Well, first batter faced, he's retired 18 out of 26. That's outstanding too.
Two and 1 to Infante, and the Sens misses low. 3-1. Nate McLeod on deck, the left-hand hitter. Nobody up in the Mets bullpen.
Elmer, if you're Elmer here, you want to throw his sinker down. Hopefully Infante will try to pull it, get yourself a double play.
And there's a letter high strike. 3-2. Infante thought he had ball 4. So now 3-2, 1 out. You got LaRoche at second and Johnson at first.
I thought this was a fortunate call for DeSenz. That pitch looks up. Strike call by Danny Demuth.
Runners go. 3-2. Popped up. Runners are going to have to hustle back. Infield fly rule called. And that's the second out. So Infante pops up as a pinch hitter. 2 out in the inning. And now Nate McLeod will come to the plate. McLeod has gone 1 for 4 tonight. Singled home a run back in the second. Peter Moylan looking to take the lead on Pedro Feliciano in the appearances category. They're tied going into the night. Friday night, Mets and Marlins first at 3 in Florida with Tim Redding against Ricky Nolasco at 6:30 on SNY. Curveball for a strike to McLeod.
McLeod is 2 for 4 off the Sens in his career with a home run.
Mike Pelfrey went 6 innings, allowed 9 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. And he's on the hook in this game. And at the knees, 1-2 to McLeod. Man is here.
Cowboy Man is always here. He's here when I leave at night. Still playing. funny that Shea, he spent more time in the stands. Here, after the game, he kind of serenades the folks as they leave for the 7 train.
You can't walk through the stands here the same way you can walk through the stands at Shea. It's a little different for Cowbell. 2-2 to Coswell. Those of us who know him well refer to him as
you do?
Cowbell.
Well, we always need more Cowbell. You know that.
This will be the 7th pitch of the at-bat to McLeod. Strike 3 call. And the inning is over. So DeSenz comes in, gets 2 big outs. 7th inning stretch time. 5-2 Atlanta.
Plurality, tough word.
Say that the Yankees will win the American League Championship. Angels second in the balloting, Red Sox third, and no love for the Central Division team. Omar Infante stays in the game at third base for the Braves, and Peter Moylan will pitch the bottom of the 7th.
Well, Peter Moylan has been outstanding all season long. Has not given up a home run. We saw him pitch in yesterday's ball game. Spot on. Good sinker, good slider. The submariner from down under in Australia.
Do you suppose there's something wrong with Chipper Jones, or is this a defensive move by Bobby Cox?
I think it's a defensive move, especially since he batted Infante for Tim Hudson, the pitcher. Going to keep Infante in the game. They have a day off tomorrow. It might give Chipper a 36 to 48 hour kind of rest and respite.
Top of the batting order for New York in the home 7th. Angel Pagan 1 for 3, drove home a run with a grounder that turned into an error in the 4th inning. And he bluffs a bunt, takes a strike, 0-1. Pagan, Castillo, and Wright for the Mets against Moylan. Looking to hold the lead for Tim Hudson, who went 6 innings, allowed 9 hits, but only 2 runs, walked 2 and struck out 3. Got double plate grounders each of the last 3 innings he worked. Pagan cracks one into left center for a base hit. That'll go all the way to the wall. Pagan heads for second as McLeod digs it out. And Angel takes the turn and holds with a leadoff double. 17th double of the year for Angel Pagan. And the Mets have their first extra base hit of the night.
Well, left-hand hitter, proper approach. Moylan is going to throw the ball away predominantly and just take him the other way. Drive him into that gap.
Getting the leadoff hitter for the Mets has not really been the problem tonight.
Well, it's 5 straight innings now the Mets have gotten the leadoff man on, but the first time they've gotten an extra base hit. Their 10th hit of the game, and now Luis Castillo, who's 1 for 3, singled in a run and stole a base in the 3rd. But then with the bases loaded and 1 out of the 4th, Hudson got him to ground into an inning-ending double play.
Third base in.
Eric O'Flaherty up in the Atlanta bullpen, the left-hander. Way outside, 1-0. Now, Moylan came in last night with the same hitters up. He got Pagano a deep fly ball and walked Castillo. Got through the inning by getting Wright and Beltran. Tonight, Pagan driving a double, and now Castillo. So Moylan trying to get through the left-hand hitters again. It's always tougher for those sidearmers against the left-hander.
Yes. Well, it's not tough if you have hitters who are not disciplined and try to pull the baseball, but it's really tough against guys like Pagan and Castillo who make their living hitting the ball the other way.
It's hard for this submariner like this sidearmer to throw inside to a left-hander.
Castillo hits one to center field. McClough back a couple of strides. Pagan tagging, but he's going nowhere. And that's the first out of the inning. Time to check in with the studio. Gary Apple is standing by to let us know what's coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night. Gary?
Well, Gary, the Giants, Justin Tuck, none too happy with Flozell Adams of the Cowboys. Don't forget the cheap shot on Sunday. And tonight we've got the revenge that Tuck is planning. We'll have that and much more when we see you later tonight.
All right, Gary, thanks. Strong words again tonight. Last night it was Bart Scott. Tonight it's Tuck.
I was just concentrating on the tie. Nice tie by Mr. Apple.
Nice play, very subtle as Wright steps in. I'm sorry, Gary. McClough in center on that fly ball had to go back, but he overran it deep and came running back in with momentum going towards third in case Pagan tried to tag up. It's the little things.
As Moylan threw that pitch, Kelly Johnson had made a run to second base, leaving that right side hole wide open.
I don't know what Kelly Johnson is thinking about. I think that at this point, Angel Pagan needs to stay where he's staying. Hope David Wright can get an extra base hit and field your position with the 3-run lead.
David just 2 for 11 in his career against Moylan. 1 for 2 and a walk tonight. Carlos Beltran on deck. We'll have to get Wright aboard and get Beltran up there as the tying run here in the 7th. Slowly hit. Infante. 2 out. And Pagan still stuck at second. So now Beltran is 2 for 3 tonight. Well, Moylan is in for the 83rd time. Feliciano getting ready for his 83rd.
Race to the finish.
Somebody asked Pedro about that yesterday. He said, yeah, we had it out in the bullpen.
Oh, he did. Only they would know, right?
Well, there was a great story in the Times the other day by Ben Spiegel about Feliciano and his anonymity.
I really enjoyed it. He was talking about that when his children come to the game, they get so excited because they know their dad probably is going to pitch in the game. Can't always say that about all relievers.
And yet if the fans see him out of uniform, they don't know who he is.
That's not a bad thing sometimes.
2-0 now to Beltran. In an increasingly specialized game, Pedro Feliciano has become a very important weapon for the Mets over the last 4 years. This time Escobar makes a move to the bag and Moylan steps off.
Interesting that they are paying so much attention to Angel at second. I mean, he's 2 out. He's already in scoring position. No need to steal.
2-0 to Beltran, and Carlos takes a strike.
You can't always measure it in stats, guys, but when I measure a reliever, especially ones that pitch deep in the game, late in the game, I want to see what their anxiety level is when there's people on base and they're facing those tough hitters. None better than Pedro Feliciano the past few seasons for the Mets. He is just relaxed and executes.
Ooh, backdoor. Moylan has been much the same for the Braves. The same kind of pitcher, just from the other side.
Good backdoor slider here, Ortiz. Remember last night on a 3-0 count, he threw a slider to Beltran, who hit it to right field.
Now it's 2-2 to Carlos. And a full count with Murphy on deck. He's had a rough night with runners on base. He'd love to get another crack. 3-2 from Moylan. Fouled off.
Keith, your approach against Moylan would be to hit the ball the other way, wouldn't it?
Just for Pagan's approach.
Up the middle.
You could run that sinker up, and you just drive him up the middle. And you know, sinker ballers, except for the very few, like more than a sidearm. Jacoby was able to get Kent Jacoby, the part, was able to get hard sink.
Yeah.
Very few can. It's a sink you can read as a hitter.
Again, the 3-2, and he walked him, and so Murphy will come up as the tying run. So Beltran aboard for the third time tonight.
Interesting pitch there. 3-2 slider to Beltran, when your best pitch, of course, is a sinker ball. And what that did, that 3-2 slider, it's going to get him, Peter Moylan, out of the game.
So Eric O'Flaherty will come on to face the left-hand hitter Murphy. Pitching change. We'll be right back. I have to say after the game, or crave access to a Giants football blog that's constantly updated with the latest insider info and opinion on all things Big Blue. Well, there's a place for that. SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Happy birthday to one of our esteemed crew members, Pat Waters and Vinny Scafidi as well.
Vinny.
Birthdays all around. It's Bruce Springsteen's birthday too.
That's right.
Daniel Murphy tying run at the plate, takes a strike from Eric O'Flaherty.
Well, the reason O'Flaherty's in there is that he has stranded 32 of 40 inherited runners this year, as he's had a fine year for these Bravos as the specialty lefty.
Murphy tonight is 0 for 3 and has left 2 runners on in each of his at-bats. 1-1 to Murph.
Flaherty from Walla Walla, Washington.
A little early.
That's why I said
it. Good slider by O'Flaherty, and it's 1-2 to Murphy.
That was the old sponsor of the Giants when I was a kid, with Burgermeister and Ham's Beer from the land of sky blue water. I think it was distilled or brewed in Walla Walla.
nice.
Murphy has a home run in 4 career at-bats against O'Flaherty.
Oh,
just missed. And it's 2-2. Jinx.
Hold me a Coke. That's what it was when I was a kid.
Wow. 2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Murphy. Struck him out. Slider from O'Flaherty gets Murphy to end the inning, and the Mets leave 2 more. That's 9 they've left on in 7 innings tonight. 5-2 Atlanta. The Braves with a 5-2 lead. Elmer Descends, who got the final 2 outs in the 7th, will stay on for the 8th inning. They'll face 2, 3, and 4 in the Atlanta batting order. Matt Diaz, the pitcher spot, and Brian McCann. The word on Chipper Jones is that he left the game with a stiff back, an issue that has plagued him in the past this season. Just one of many maladies that Chipper Jones has suffered through over the last few years that have diminished his playing time. Mike Gonzalez, who has had a back problem of his own up in the Atlanta bullpen. Matt Diaz leads off in the 8th inning. Diaz 2 for 4 has singled his last 2 at bats. Pitcher's spot is due up next. Norton has come out on deck to pinch hit. Veteran switch hitter who's having a miserable year. And Diaz takes off the plate 2-1.
This is the kind of game that'll get you off your diet.
Why do you say that? Are you having ice cream again? Are you kidding? Oh, good for you.
I am.
Slowly hit to the left side. Hernandez on the backhand, and the perfect throw gets Diaz one away. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Rockies do not yet have a hit in that game against Tim Stauffer. So after an 11-10 affair last night at Coors Field, a very different kind of game tonight. So here's Norton, who's hitting just 141 on the year. In the past, a feared pinch hitter, but really having a problem this year. And in fact, late in the season, Brooks Conrad has gotten more of the key pinch hitting at bats than has Norton.
Got one last night.
2-0 to Norton. Well, Detroit's on its way to a win tonight. They lead Cleveland 11-3 in the ninth. Minnesota up 5-2 on the White Sox in the bottom of the sixth in Chicago. Trying to keep that within 2.5 games of the AL Central.
Talk about a nightmare season, the Cleveland Indians.
Well, they're about to lose their 10th game in a row. And there's been speculation about whether Eric Wedge's job is in jeopardy now. You know, the Indians over the last few years have fancied themselves much the way the Twins have in terms of establishing stability, with Mark Shapiro as the GM and Eric Wedge as the manager.
Yes.
And you know, it's going to be a tough call for them at the end of the year to decide whether to break that team up.
It's really hard for me because people that come from my generation of players, I know these guys and like them as people, and you hate to see anyone lose their job, but you know, they came in the last 2 seasons, I believe, with talk of being, if not the front runner, then they were going to compete with the Tigers and the Twins and the White Sox for that division. And in fact, before the season, I think I even came out of my own lips that was going to be the most hotly contested division, and it has been between Detroit and Minnesota.
Well, they've had some young players who they put a lot of stock in, like Fausto Carmona, like Travis Hafner, who've not performed the way they expected the last 2 years. Castillo throws out Norton for the second half.
And their bullpen was a disaster the first month and a half of the season. And from watching the Mets last season, you know how a bullpen can bring a team down when it's going through their struggles.
So DeSenz has faced 4 batters and retired them all, and now Brian McCann has gone 1 for 4 tonight, and well, I guess that's all for DeSenz.
Maybe not.
Pedro Feliciano will come on for the 83rd time this year with the left-hand hitter coming up. No baby knots about it. Pitching change here in the 8th with the Mets down 5-2. Feliciano enters. We'll be right back. Pedro Feliciano to the mound for the 83rd time.
Pitched the third of an inning in last night's ball game. Had 3 ERA. Ready to drop that below 3, but get McCann out here.
Last night was called upon to get Garrett Anderson and got a ground out in the 8th inning. This time McCann with 2 out and nobody on. McCann 1 for 4 on the night. Singled and scored back in the 3rd. And he drives one foul, and it's 1-1. You know, we're talking about the Indians and the stability they'd like to have that the Twins have had. Well, nobody's been more stable with their managerial situation over the last 20 years than the Braves with Bobby Cox. Mish and Parnell up in the Mets bullpen. Bobby began his current stint as Braves manager in June of 1990. And since then, only one other team has had fewer than 4 managers since that date. And that's the Twins. They've had just Tom Kelly and Ron Gardenhire. The Mets have had 8 managers since Bobby Cox took over the Braves, the most recent time. The Reds and Cubs have each had 10. That's the most in the last 20 years. Breaking ball for a strike. 2-2 to McCann.
Well, congratulations to Gardy. Last night's ball game was his 700th win. We're talking about Bobby Cox and all his amazing numbers. Nice numbers for RX teammate Gardy.
He's sweating right now because it's now Twins 5, White Sox 4 in the 6th inning. Jermaine Dye just did a home run. 2-2 to McCann. Breaking ball struck him out. So Feliciano gets his man again. 5-2 Atlanta.
An inning but gave up that home run to Omir Santos. Had back problems that he was suffering from, some back spasms, and now back on the mound.
He left the game because of those. He didn't finish the inning, if I recall, right, Gary?
Too much hula hoop twirling out there.
Well, maybe he'll cut down on the gyrations as he faces Jeff Francoeur to lead off the bottom of the 8th.
Tatis in the on-deck circle, going to pinch hit for Schneider.
Francoeur 1 for 3 tonight. Here's Tatis. And then Anderson Hernandez behind him. And Gary Sheffield in the hole, perhaps to bat for Hernandez. Gary appeared as a pinch hitter in the 9th inning last night and walked. 2-0 to Francoeur. Gonzalez rocking and rolling. And Francoeur drives one to the gap in left center. Extra base hit for Jeff as McLeod plays the count. Well, for the 6th consecutive inning, the Mets get the leadoff man on. For the 2nd straight inning, it's on with a double.
Right down Broadway, 2-0. Francoeur likes that ball down. And 2-0. 3-run lead.
And you know what's been interesting, Keith, is Francoeur, every time he's asked about this ballpark, he says the same answer. This ballpark's great for me. Large gaps. You know, turning something that could be a negative to one player, he's turned into a positive for himself.
Well, he's not a guy who lifts the ball.
Yeah, he's a line drive hitter.
Here's Tatis.
I mean, he hit, what, 29 home runs his second year?
He is not a guy that wins neither.
No. He just goes out and plays.
Yeah.
Doesn't complain. Plays through what's, you know, could be a debilitating injury right now. There's Sheffield on deck to bat for Anderson Hernandez. Tatis batting for Brian Schneider, who was 2 for 3 tonight. Brian continues to put good games together offensively after a season that was bereft of them early. One to Tatis. Swing and a miss at the fastball. 1-2. And he struck him out. So Gonzalez fans Tatis. That's the first out of the inning. And that'll get Sheffield up as a pinch hitter for Anderson Hernandez. Omir Santos out on deck to bat for Feliciano. But first Sheffield, who walked as a pinch hitter last night to keep the Mets alive before Santos struck out to end the game. Frankie Rodriguez hoping the Mets can put together a big inning and get him a save chance. Bobby Parnell up alongside him in the bullpen. And Gonzalez struggling with his command. 1-0. Looks like he's falling off to third base.
Well, he's got a little, you know, part of what makes him tough to hit at times is he has some deception. Arm going one way, the body going the other.
I think those sideburns are a little deceptive too. Look at those things. That could put artistry. That could put a hole in you. It's like a teardrop or a tornado.
Back to a breaking ball. Misses. 2-1. Must be awfully hard when you fall off the mound that way. And I guess the same is true of Frankie Rodriguez to a certain extent, to keep that arm from trailing behind. Sheffield pops one a mile high right at home plate. And McCann's got it. 2 out. As Bob Murphy would have said, he could have hit it in the silo.
Oh, nice. Give me as many Murph references as you want, Jerry. How many years did you guys spend in the room together?
15 years.
Wow.
That long?
Yep.
Wow. I didn't think it was that long. Wow.
Went by in a snap.
Your first year was 89,
89,
right?
yeah. You guys, you know, went to the postseason in 88. I got here in 89, and 10 years later, the Mets were back in the postseason again.
As you were rebuilding your career, I was turning mine down.
Mine was winding down.
Yeah, my first year with the Mets was Keith's last year. Yeah, and you got traded shortly thereafter. I don't know. Maybe it was just me.
I won 14 games that year, but the next year was kind of a disaster. I knew it was going to be a disaster when they had the yearbook come out in 1990, and they had 6 starters on the cover. That became a bit of a problem.
Yep. And then there was another before the end of the year. Santos fist one foul.
That was the only year that the Mets really did have too much pitching.
Well, they always say those things take care of themselves. Well, that year it didn't.
It did not.
That's the year I broke my kneecap, right?
89?
Yep. I was out most of the year.
Yep.
I had a most difficult time coming back from that.
Santos pulls one just foul.
Wow, I thought it was going to be a lot. My angle up here, I thought it was a lot more foul, but it was close. Wow.
Hunter Wendelstedt, the third base umpire, eye right on it.
You know what helps here now is because of the drainage, there's a great sand base under the grass. So as soon as it does hit the grass, sand will come up, and I think that helps the umpires.
Except if you mistake that for chalk.
There you go. You're right. You're right.
Very nice shot. Looks like
we could be in the jungle somewhere.
Could have little miniature army men coming out of there.
That one skips past McCann, and that'll move Frank Core over to third on the wild pitch.
Well, that's the change up here from Gonzalez. He just fires it, doesn't even make it past the plate, bounces in front. Possible for McCann.
Mets are just 2 for 16 with runners in scoring position tonight. 2-2 to Santos. Game is over in Cleveland. The Tigers have beaten the Indians 11-3.
Oh, there you go. That's all right. Look at that.
Not quite Army man, but
you could make do.
The baseball man. Struck him out. Gonzalez with his second strikeout of the inning. Twists and turns off the mound. After the leadoff double, the Mets strand Frank Core and trail 5-2 after 8. Hey, baseball guy. Is brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Honda. By Geico. By Citi. And by Toyota. Omir Santos stays in the game behind the plate for New York. Wilson Valdez takes over at short. He'll bat 7th. And the pitcher Bobby Parnell will hit 8th.
Well, Bobby now has been in the bullpen. This is his second appearance since being taken out of the starting rotation. Appeared in the first game of the series, walked 1 and struck out 1 in his inning of work.
They'll face Garrett Anderson, Yunel Escobar, and Adam LaRoche for the Braves in the ninth. Good news for the Braves from out of town. At Coors Field, the Padres have added 3 runs in the 5th inning and now lead the Rockies 5-0. A little rain falling here, not very much, just enough.
The Bravos are in it, and they play 7 more games against the Washington Nationals.
So you never know. They're going to need help, though.
Yeah.
Because they don't play the Rockies head-to-head. Garrett Anderson 2 for 3 and a walk. And takes a fastball for a strike. Mike Pelfrey started this game for the Mets, went 6 innings, allowed 4 runs, 3 of them earned on 9 hits. Ken Takahashi gave up a run on 2 hits in a third of an inning. Elmer DeCens faced 4 batters, retired them all. And Pedro Feliciano struck out his only batter. Let's see, Pedro has been in 83 games now, needs 3 to tie and 4 to break his club record that he set last year of 86.
He'll get it, I bet you.
Oh, he'll get it. He's not going to get Mike Marshall. Marshall set the all-time record, appearing in 106 games for the Dodgers back in '74. Anderson down swinging, so Parnell strikes out the first man to face him.
This ball's supposed to be in, but ends up away. That little slider that didn't break but fooled Anderson. You know what's interesting about that article you talked about before, Gary, in the New York Times about Pedro, was how he has developed a routine which has kept him healthy, and that's been one of his many strengths. Rafael Soriano getting loose in the Braves bullpen.
Escobar's walked twice, scored 2 runs, otherwise 0 for 2 tonight. Well, you know, if you're a situational left-hander, you have to prepare almost like you're an everyday player.
Yeah, agreed.
And I wonder whether your preparation is any different than other members of that bullpen. Parnell snags it, and Escobar retired 2 away. Well, right after Keith and Ron and I are done here, it's Lincoln Mercury post-game live. Join Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda for tonight's highlights, interviews, Jerry's post-game reactions. We'll hear from Mike Pelfrey about his start tonight, all after tonight's game and after every Mets game right here on SNY. Lincoln Mercury post-game live. And, you know, postseason honors are coming up soon. Co-rookies of the year, Carlin and Ojeda.
There you go. I know that no one from this booth's going to get anything.
Nothing in one down of LaRoche, who's 3 for 4 on the night and has driven in a pair of runs.
Pretty good combination out of that bullpen, though. Lefty and a righty, Carlin and Ojeda.
Do you know that Carlin's a righty?
No, I just guessed.
I always thought Bobby O was much more suited to be a starter.
Agreed. Oh, yeah.
Didn't really have situational lefty stuff.
Nope. Won a big game, game 2 in Houston.
Game 2 in Houston and game 3 in Fenway.
And 18 games that season. 18 and 5, right?
He started in the bullpen.
Ripped down the right field side, and that's a foul ball. 1 and 2 to LaRoche.
There's another beautiful pickup from Mr. Cash.
That was those April days when you only needed 4 starters.
Probably for Bobby. I never talked to him about this, but it must have been a welcome relief. Being a left-handed starter in Fenway Park with that green monster so close, and then to come to the big Shea must have been a welcome relief.
And wasn't Calvin Schiraldi part of the deal that brought Ojeda to the Mets?
I believe so.
Was it?
Think of the irony of that.
Yeah, Calvin, the offensive guys had Calvin's number.
Think about it. The National League got 2 top flight left-handers. First, that was Tudor from Boston, and then Ojeda from Boston.
Well, you know those lefties can't win at Fenway. Right?
Well, maybe they can't win at Fenway, but I tell you, it's a great place to do your prep work.
I think John Lester's doing okay, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Wow.
1 and 2 to LaRoche. Parnell trying to put this inning to bed. Well, LaRoche keeps it alive. Mets will have the top of the batting order coming up in the last of the ninth. Pagan, Castillo, and Wright, presumably against Rafael Soriano, who, if the score stays the same, will be in line for a save. Again, the 1-2 inside. You know how Andre Ethiers had 4 walk-off home runs this year for the Dodgers?
Yeah.
He had a walk-off of a different kind tonight, an error that scored the winning run in the bottom of the ninth for the Nats, who beat the Dodgers 5-4. And keeps the Dodgers magic number at 7 for clinching the NL West. Struck him out. Parnell with a solid inning, strikes out a pair, and the Dodgers are done in the top of the ninth. Now the Mets with their final chance to avoid getting swept by the Braves, down 5-2. For the Braves, and Rafael Soriano will try to save it for Atlanta.
25 out of 29 save opportunities this year. His strikeout to walk ratio outstanding, 4-1.
Top of the batting order for New York in the last of the ninth. Angel Pagan has 2 hits, a single and a double. He's also driven in a run, 2 for 4. Pagan, Castillo, and Wright trying to bring the Mets off the mat in the last of the ninth, trying to avoid getting beat by the Braves for the 8th straight time. Braves swept 3 from the Mets last week in Atlanta, trying to do the same here tonight. If the Braves win tonight, they will clinch a winning season. This would be their 82nd victory of the year. For the Mets, if they do not rebound, it'll be their 88th loss, with 9 more to play after tonight. Soriano's 1-1 off the plate, and it's 2-1 to Pagan.
Soriano, when you watch him in a save opportunity, he's kind of like the locomotive, isn't he? Kind of starts out slow and the wheels are kind of turning, and he kind of picks up steam as he gets out.
Definitely doesn't look perturbed. But he's behind on Pagan now, 3-1, and looking a little more perturbed.
He just, you know, he's got a 3-run lead here. It's not like he's got a bigger bulge. Can't walk anybody. Got to be taken here, right, Ronnie?
Yes.
And He takes inside ball 4, so the Mets get the leadoff man on in the last of the ninth.
Good job by Angel.
That is 7 straight innings now. The Mets have gotten the leadoff man on. Pelfrey walked to start the 3rd. He scored. Francoeur singled to start the 4th. He scored. But Wright walked to start the 5th. Schneider singled to start the 6th. Pagan double leading off in the 7th. And Francoeur double leading off in the 8th. And none of them scored. Now Pagan's on to start the 9th for Castillo. And he takes a strike.
Saw that outfield defense. Gurecki real shallow and left. You see that McLeod is kind of backed up a little.
Yes.
Don't want anything over your head. I think Gurecki's in a little bit too close. They want to back up around 5 feet.
Line into left center. McLeod moving over to grab it for the first out of the inning. Pagan back to first, 1 away.
Well, Louis has a hit tonight, but different defense that they've had been using all year. He would have had 3 hits.
Yep. So now David Wright is 1 for 3 and a walk. Padres now lead the Rockies 6-0 as they go to the bottom of the 5th at Coors Field. So the Braves might have every chance to gain a game tonight and get to within 4 of Colorado. Same chance for the Giants, who are playing in Arizona. They're scoreless in the bottom of the 1st. With Jonathan Sanchez working that game against Kevin Mulvey, the former Met prospect. 0-1 to Wright.
Mulvey's had a rough go of it his first couple of starts. Going to try to right the ship here.
Mulvey, one of the prospects the Mets traded to the Twins for Johan Santana.
Mulvey Villanova?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Just a little light rain falling. Nothing to be concerned about.
It always, folks, looks, all you watching at home, it always looks like it's raining harder on TV.
Why is that? Little tapper, foul.
You know why you say that? Because you don't want to go a rain delay.
Well, no, it is true, and I wonder why that is.
Yes, so maybe our director can inform us.
I think it's because our director is so good, he's able to capture the intensity of the rain.
Maybe it's the raindrops off the lights.
Maybe it's the HD.
Maybe it's because the raindrops are not actually falling on your head.
It's called lens compression.
I knew it. What a tutor, right?
There's a few things I'd love to compress in this game, and it's not lens.
Oh, God.
Soriano ahead 1-2. And Wright takes strike 3 call. So David down looking for the second out, and the Mets are down to their final out of the night. Carlos Beltran's been on base 3 times tonight, 2 singles and a walk. The Twins added 3 runs in the 7th and lead the White Sox 8-4. So if the Twins win that, they'll stay 2.5 behind the Tigers, who've already won tonight. Pagan takes off. Defensive indifference moves him to second. And Beltran lifts one to left center. That should end the ball game. Reed Gurecki puts it away, and the Braves have beaten the Mets for the 8th consecutive time as they sweep this 3-game series and keep their slim wild card hopes alive. And the Mets their 88th loss of the year as the Braves win it 5-2.
Well, on a night that Bobby Cox announced that next year